proud to say that we've already seen the reception, the audience. When we put out, this is, by the way, our third month, honestly, to put out, real content out there. And to have, for example, one of our videos hit 1,000 views.
Wow, in 3 months.
It was actually in 1 week. That for me was testament to we need this. If you read through our engagements, because we respond. If you look at how we've gone down to, for example, we had training with Minority Africa to sort of, explain to people the laws that affect minorities, or put out content that speaks to them was critical. So you see, there is need to have these discussions. People are willing. We've had lawyers come on board. And by the way, should I say this is pro bono? Because we don't pay. So we have lawyers coming on board and saying, hey, look, I can help interpret this commercial law. I could help interpret criminal law. I'll be on set. When can we shoot? Because at the end of the day, we are media practitioners, but we are trying to discuss legal matters. So to have as many people come on board, we are seeking, funders that can help push this agenda way down to the grassroots, change it in different languages, make sure we go for trainings in districts that are not here, because not everyone can access YouTube or internet. But to have these people on board is key for us to sort of move this forward.
Well done. I can see the passion ooze out of you as you speak all this.
Thank you.
And I hope all goes well with you, with Nalo. And I pray that this project goes on and on and on to impact lives and very many young people.
Thank
as
you,
I'm very aware about what the ignorance of the law can mean to young people.
Yes,
Thank you for
so
coming
much.
to Solutions Now Africa. We hope
Sure.
to have more of this conversation in the future.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yes.
you for having me.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Tracy Kansi, full of, passion.
Passion, if only God
And,
gave me
oh my
only
God.
50% of her energy and passion. I remember I met Tracy 3 months ago. Then she asked me one question. So she was like, how do you know someone is going to manipulate you? I think they were shooting an episode. Then I searched my mind. I didn't have a clear answer. So I told her, someone who is going to manipulate me usually says that there is more where this has come from. So Dan, really, the people you have had a conversation with, like when you listen to them, they are just, offloading volleys of information from like quite a lot. They seem to understand subjects deeply. Who stood out for you?
That question is always a tricky one, and I don't know how you can always avoid it, because saying this is the best is always tricky for, such young people who are all talented, passionate about their innovations. I'm really very impressed by each one of them, to be honest. Because if you talk about the law and the young people, that's something that is worth talking about and maybe tackling. If you talk about transport and energy saving, like the Chira Motors guys are doing, it's also a big investment in Uganda under the government of Uganda. Talk about Kau, these young people are really doing great in schools for kids, save hunger in schools. I know, you know what it means in schools. You know what it means to be in class and then
You don't have cash. But why do you need money at school? I seem not to understand that.
I saw you going to that direction because you've never been in boarding school, you mentioned.
Yeah,
so
but all I know is that anyway.
You have
always a very interesting.
You have no moral authority to question having been in school. But anyway, and also talking about Science TV, they're also here.
Wow, yeah.
Talking about inclusivity and inclusiveness, especially for the deaf, and then helping them get up to date with what's happening in the world is really also a good job going on over there. Solutions Now Africa is also doing a great job.
Yeah, we are doing everything possible to ensure that African narratives are told in a way that, Africa that is been stereotyped is now going to be, showcased to the world in its full form. you know, all its challenges. But in those challenges, there are quite many possibilities, and our people are doing everything possible. And we are here, Dan, for example, a person like you with a lot of energy. You are in the middle of this thing, and you know, you've taken it to another level. How does it feel for you at this stage?
When I was in journalism school, all the things I always pictured was being at the front line of wars and covering wars.
Yeah, yeah.
Covering everything wrong, because I knew that's what news is. What
Yes.
leads?
What bleeds?
What
Leads.
leads.
Yes.
So to be here right now and being a front line of talking to people who are making positive changes in society
Yeah.
is a flip of what I thought it would be. And I think I'm liking it.
That's very interesting. You know, you are sort of trained to ask the questions, but this time you will have to answer them. So I love this thing about, you know, stuff that stands out in our lives. You have covered stories, you know, inspiring stories in different communities. You've reached out to people. Which community or which solution really touched your heart, and you're like, wow, I am taking this into my community. I'm going to speak to my people to ensure that we also take this model and replicate it to ensure that, you know, we lead better lives.
By the way, for the stories you've done at Solutions Now Africa, I think the story that stands out for me is not even mine. There's a story that was done by one of our colleagues, Ronette, about breast milk and, the breast milk bank.
Yeah.
I think at this point, I feel that was one hell of an innovation. Because for people to be out there and trying to save lives of young people is something so touching for me.
Of children.
Yes, of children, of infants who don't really know much about what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
But maybe because of one problem or one deficiency, they're not able to get breast milk.
Yeah.
And someone wakes up one day and is like, I'm going to start up a breast milk bank. And they're storing the breast milk. People are donating. Just imagine someone coming out and they're donating, breast milk.
Yeah.
It was so interesting for me.
Well, on top of that, I also recall the story that you covered on agricultural innovations
Excuse me?
and the way they are, you know, changing agriculture and attracting young people to farming. You remember that interview that we had of, you know, people in Ghana calling guys in Luwero looking for a farm, and they are growing cassava. For me, that really stood out for us. I think it showed, you know, what innovations really can do and what we can achieve using mobile digital technology.
Yeah, for example, what we want to see at Solutions Now Africa is Africa that has no borders.
Yeah.
One of the narratives we're trying to maybe challenge is for people who feel out there that Africa is just one country. And yet we are different countries with different borders. But at the same point, if someone can be in Ghana and they're doing farming in Uganda through mobile technology, you have to thank the God that created innovations. And digital technology in general. But if you talk about agriculture and technology, there are very many out there who are, trying to do very many things about using digital technology. There's Famunera, I think I've pronounced it right. They're here, I think.
They are with us. We shall be looking out for them.
Yes, and there are very many other innovations. And you know what agriculture means to Uganda. So if you talk innovations and agriculture, then, man, you're talking about a big deal of what feeds a good percentage of Ugandans, very many families. And of course, you had lunch. I hope
Powered by cars.
But yes, you had lunch, and then from a farm. So it's all agriculture every day. You walk, eat, drink, and sleep agriculture in Uganda because it's the backbone of the economy. But maybe to turn the guns to you, solutions journalism.
Yes.
You've told me before about how it has been a great experience. It's true real experience for you to edit solution journalism stories, like something you never imagined in the past. How has it been different from the usual journalism that people do?
Well, a sojo piece is not like I will relate it to the statement that I made that the law is not everyone's posho. I want to say that a sojo piece is not everyone's posho. Um, you know, it really takes a lot of energy in terms of critical thinking. It's our editorial policy. We don't frame people a certain way. For example, we don't frame Africans as needy. So when we are doing these kind of pieces, we try our very best to live within the line, and also not over exaggerate innovations, impacts, and also not over exaggerate what organizations, individuals, communities are doing. So it's a very thin line or tight rope to walk. But for me, it has been a very interesting experience in that a sojo should be as fresh in the end as it is fresh in the beginning. So for a writer to maintain, a narrative in the same format with the same, freshness throughout the process, for me, it has been a very, very interesting experience for me.
Yeah, we shall have more of that discussion later, but we have a new innovator
Wow,
in the
good
house,
to see
and
you.
I'm hoping you're the one taking on this interview, Amos.
Yes.
So please, you can have a seat.
The microphone. It's good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
My name is Wambi. I am with Solutions Now Africa. What we do is that we document working ideas that are addressing socio-economic challenges in different communities and with us as a nation and a continent. So, what is your innovation?
First of all, I'll introduce myself.
Yeah, I skipped that.
Yeah, so you get to know me. My name is Dutch Joshua, and I'm an innovation consultant. I work with Startup Africa, so it's a whole organization. We'll talk about a bit what we do, and I hope it will be sufficient.
Hopefully.
Yeah, so at Startup Africa, we work with innovators. We want to unlock their potential so that they can start this innovation, and also they just don't die in the first year, but also they scale up. So that's a bit of summary.
That is a very interesting thing. I have consumed reports that Ugandans are very innovative people, but then these innovations don't see their second birthday.
Yeah.
So what is it that you're doing to keep them afloat, or what is your innovation about?
Well, I think for us, we believe the foundation is really important.
Okay.
I think not only in business, but literally in everything that you do. So we have a different approach. We don't just start, but also we mentor and coach. So what we're doing differently is we think you should have the right mindset. So, and that mindset normally starts when you're young.
Okay.
And we feel like at university stage, a student is now having really good thoughts and thinking about the future.
Yes.
So that's where we want to support them more. So how we run is we start with university students. We run academy program. We have a program called the Academy, the Startup Academy. We work around universities in Uganda, and also we want to expand across East Africa. We run a 6 to 8 actually, 6 to 8 weeks program depending on where we're working. And we support them with entrepreneurship trainings. We mentor them. We help them build their ideas. And at the end of the year, we organize a pitch event. And actually last year, we were at MCI 2021. Okay. If you check our stall there, we're exhibiting. There's a video being played of the last pitch event. University students were here and they were presenting their ideas. And of course, we give some small money, and we see how they use it very well. Yeah, if they can use it very well, then we trust them. And that takes me to the next program that we run, the Catalyzer program.
Yes.
So we have a Catalyzer program, which is a boost. we look at those entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs and innovators at the university level, how they have moved forward with their innovations. And if they are good, we can also take them to the Catalyzer program, where we support them a bit more on a daily basis. Now maybe potentially they're out of university already, and now they're focusing on their solution. So we work with them every day to build their ideas. Also invest a bit more than we invest at the pitch event.
Okay.
And also we want to support them with an ecosystem of investors. I think this is a really good event for us,
Okay.
meeting these people, meeting potential investors for these startups, because that's what we need,
Yeah.
and that's what we want to build, especially for the Catalyzer program.
Okay.
It's also open, not only for the university students that go through the academic program,
Yeah.
but also on the Catalyzer level, we open up for everyone, as long as you're a startup. I think on our stall, even very many startups are coming to check on the work we're doing. We welcome them. They can come on our website, and check out how our program works, read some success stories as well, ask us some questions. Yeah, so that's a little bit. I just want to take it a bit of from where we start
Okay.
now to the Catalyzer program, so you can have a good picture of what we are
Of
doing.
what exactly you're doing.
Yes.
So what has been you're doing quite a lot of work, trying to identify talented entrepreneurs from universities and powering them up and coaching them and giving them business ideas, marketing ideas. Which impact? What would you how would you rate the impact that you've created since the beginning to this stage? How many, for example, innovators have you worked with, and how are they doing?
Yeah, that may not be a one case story for sure. For example, if it's to evaluate like how we feel about our impact, I think for us we're super happy. When you look at when startups started, that means there was no university continuous program. And now I think we are in about 10 universities. I'm not the right person, of course, to report the numbers, but I think we're in the 10 universities in Uganda, and we're looking at crossing over. I'll also talk about a program we've just run with the Inter-University Council. I think there are over 1,000 students already that should have been impacted through our program. And it's continuous every year that we're increasing these numbers. But also that's not enough. I think also how these entrepreneurs feel. Yeah. Like the feedback. Kau's been here in this seat. I think I don't know if you were here when Kau.
They were right there.
Kau is from Startup. He's now in our Catalyzer program. Though he joined through another program, our consulting program. So the last thing I didn't talk about, I just wanted to pause. We elevate a little bit, is that we do consulting, where we support other organizations, implement their innovations or implement their programs with innovators. Our experience is innovation a lot, so we hope organizations, one example I can give or two, one is the program called D-Skills in East Africa. It is a program actually still ongoing with the Inter-University Council of East Africa, where we worked in 6 countries with university innovators in Uganda, in Kenya, Tanzania, Burundi, South Sudan, and Rwanda. So we had over 1,000 applications. We had 2 winners in every country, and we had 12 come here at MCI recently to pitch. So all those university innovators were brought to Uganda to pitch, and each took away $3,000 in total as a grant. So also we see that as impact. And also we are very happy that when we work with other people, the success stories they experience through us, through our support that we give them, I think that's the impact we are proud of. M&E has the right numbers. I don't have the right numbers of the overall impact we've made, but I think we're super proud of. The startups I see here today, and I really feel good. The bank is now at MCI.
Yeah,
The bank
they
I
are
went
our
through-
neighbors. They are neighbors next
the bank
door.
went through our innovation program for human rights defenders. We are working with the Digital Human Rights Lab. And yeah, it was also was supported by the GIZ and the German Corporation. So yeah, when I find those, I think those are like visible success stories that we are proud of for sure.
Yeah, very interesting. The future of Uganda, the future of Africa, has been premised on innovation. And before, like, you came in with a solution, trying to engage, innovators, entrepreneurs to ensure that, they have a stronger footing. There existed quite a number of challenges. Like we said in the beginning, most of them were not making it to their second birthday. What is it that we must do about innovations to keep them afloat? To even us who have ideas, young people out there who have ideas, how must they keep afloat? How must they think processes, think very well to ensure that their ideas achieve the goal or the reasons why they have been created?
Yeah, I think I really like the question, and I think it's very important. I think sometimes we get lost along the way or in the process. So I think for us, two things that are really, really, maybe for me, not only, I think I'm a consultant.
Yes.
So there are things that I've seen over time that maybe seem now to me very, very important. But I can only say those for now. I think there are very many factors to success. But I think you should be interested in what you're doing, first of all. That's very important. There's always challenges along the way, even though you're working on the same innovations, actually.
Yeah.
You don't face the same challenges. So me and you can be working on the same idea.
Yeah. Solutions Now Africa is the
Yeah.
idea.
So we could be working on the same thing, but then how we approach it, we have different challenges. So we must be committed, first of all, that we never give up. We shall find always a way of turning around. So that's very important to me. You should have, there was always frustrations and challenges, improving your solutions. And then another one I would say is from one of our methodologies that we use, that you design with the user.
You design in a user's perspective.
Yeah, because then it's not going to be helpful for them if you're not designing for them. I think you mentioned, like, how do we make sure they stay relevant and serve the purpose that we create them for. So these solutions, we should design them with the users. Consult, do research, iterate, because things change sometimes. When pandemic started, things changed. So maybe other things didn't make sense then. So if you're stuck in that perspective or thinking, it may not make sense right now. So yeah, I think that's the core point I would say. Let's design with the user. Okay. We learn a lot. It takes us to many directions that can help us improve our solutions.
Well, I have to let you go, perhaps go and answer questions, because I know very many people now, from the information you've shared, are pouring onto your store. They are looking to, have a chat with you and the team to, ensure that they are on, on the right track as innovators. Any parting shot?
Sorry?
You have a parting shot as you go out?
I would say maybe to welcome you. I'd love to talk more.
Oh, all right.
I'd love to talk more, so I will welcome everyone. If anyone is watching, please come at our store, Startup Africa. Check us online, startupafrica.org. Send us an email, subscribe to our newsletter, follow us on social media. Let's get talking and, unlock the potential of change makers and innovate.
All right. Solutions Now Africa will be coming to your doorstep to ensure that we track the impact of what you're doing, the service you are rendering to most of the innovators around Uganda. We thank you very much for the efforts that you're doing to ensure that innovators stay afloat.
Thank you, and I appreciate.
Yeah, so we hope to see you again.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to welcome you once again to the MCI Media Hub. This is the second edition of the Innovations Fireplace. My name is Wambi, and I am coming to you live from the Solutions Now Africa, studio. I am with my very good friend and reporter Dan Ayebade. Dan.
Yeah,
Take it away.
The seat I'm in has been just a few seconds ago was occupied by one person who is like a parent to, innovators. When you're an innovator and you hear someone talk about how they support innovations, I hope by now you should be at their stall and talking. And not talking money, but then maybe talking mentorship and talking about how you can be able to tap into that space at Start Hub Africa to be able to have, to take your next step with them. I'm glad more innovators are coming through, and I'm very happy that when you go to the auditorium, I was there when I left the set. Yeah. It's getting warmer. At the beginning, it was kind of cold, but it's getting warmer.
The smoke is bellowing.
Yes, people coming in, the smoke. There's something I always ask if my friend called Edgar. Where does that smoke come from?
And speaking of Edgar is here to talk about the Debunk, the only fact-checking show in Uganda, and is extending, wings to the rest of East Africa. And Edgar wants to go Africa. You're most welcome, Edgar.
Let me talk to Edgar. I will excuse you for a second. Very welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dana Ayebade.
What's your name?
My name is Edgar Matthew Karohanga. I'm the lead fact media initiative.
Yes, I know you're Edgar, but you have other people who don't know your name, so that's why I ask you what your name is. So you work with the Bank Media Initiative?
Yes, I work with the Bank Media Initiative.
What do you guys do?
The Bank Media Initiative is a fact-checking organization. So what we do is we look out for misinformation and fake news that normally goes on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Then we also look out for misinformation on mainstream TV or broadcast TV, for example, television networks, TV shows, radio shows. We also fact-check memes. So everything that, everything that we find false, we look out for it and try to debunk it. That's why we are called the Debunk.
When you talk about memes, I have a friend who wants to start a website of memes. So you will have a lot of content to cover. You just go to the website and then just fact-check. But talking Debunk, so how has it been at Debunk? You've been in existence, I think, for some time. How has it been, the journey of fact-checking? The journey of being the one who goes out there and say, no, this is wrong, and you tell the other, the audience that this is fake, this is right. How has it been for you?
The journey has been okay. I would say at the bigger perspective, it has been fine. We've been trying, and we are fortunate that we are trained by Africa Check.
It's a very exciting time, and
with a bit of background and knowledge
Big Boy
about
Shark
it.
representing right here on MCI Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's only 23 minutes past the hour of 5, and it's a Tuesday. That is the 21st of June 2022. It's a very beautiful moment, and we are streaming live right here. That's at the home of MCI Radio, which is the MCI Media Hub right here in Kampala, Uganda, on Tirupati Mazima Mall. It's a very beautiful time.
So we
have Ergo, we have Shona, we have the Debunk. Now those ones are in-house over here in the
image checking. You can use other tools like TinEye to look at the origin of the claim, to look at the inconsistencies in the videos. So those are some of the tools we use. But we also use experts. So we get an expert about a particular topic, maybe the topic in question. It can be, if it's about health, we look out for a doctor who is really good at that particular aspect, and then we use them to give us the credible information. So generally, it has been a very good experience. We've been doing this for 2 years now. We are approximately making 2 years because we started around 2020, around the misinformation that was going on COVID-19. So generally, it has been tedious, but worth it, I can say.
You talked the bank. I know, like I mentioned when I was talking to the people from Nalo, there's always a story behind most of these innovations and most of the things we do. On a personal level, what makes you fall in love with fact-checking?
The love for credible information, and to know that credible information is something that is needed in society, because when you look at the narrative today, wrong information actually runs faster than factual information. So as debunk team, we looked at and we said, what can we do about the fake news that has been going on? And as I told you earlier, it was during the COVID-19 pandemic where everybody was having an answer to everything. So it's really something that instigated a curiosity in us to say, can't we do something that will help in making sure that factual information goes faster than fake news? And that is where the origin of the debunk came through. We started doing the COVID-19 fact checks. Then we saw that it was not even only about COVID-19. There were other aspects. There are political statements that are made. There are statistics that are normally put out there, and not many people come out to really know what these statistics mean, right? Because they would say 1% of this. And many people are like, oh, these percentages, we don't really understand them. So it was more of the love to make information known there and factual information to be known by the public that really instigated and a curiosity for us to start doing the debunk show, which is a fact-checking show, which you're doing up to now, sir.
Okay, Edgar, I won't take much of your time, yes, but one last one. I think maybe you could agree with me that people don't appreciate what facts can help maybe society. They don't appreciate what fake news can do to a society. How best can fact-checking organizations like yours be able to use their platforms and let people know from the grassroots in our communities, making them understand what fake news can do to our society?
Okay, yeah, that is a very, very challenge where people don't really appreciate fact-checking. It's something that is new. But we are doing it, it's something that we are building. We're not looking at now, we are looking 50 years from now, what is going to be our impact. What we want is to grow a culture or inculcate a culture of fact-checking. And we are doing this in various formats. We've started trainings where we are going to train training various journalists, we are training students, we're training people to really start knowing, like, how can I fact-check this misinformation? If they come across something, they really subconsciously feel like, before I share this, be wrong, right? Not many people have, when it appeals to them, someone will just share it out of maybe trying to share a narrative. Training people to actually start appreciating fact-checking and also start fact-checking for themselves. This year, we are also doing what they call translation. So we are translating our fact-checks in the native languages of various Ugandans in various regions. So what we do is we are looking out for a radio station in every region of the country. So we get, for example, the northern region, we look for a dialect that people understand or comprehend, and we use that. We go to the western and really will make everybody understand, and we use that. So we are trying to translate these fact checks from just being in our language, in a language English that everybody may not understand, and trying to put it down to the grassroots. So in time, when these people listen to these fact checks in their native languages, when they listen to how to use tools, because we're also teaching them how to use various tools, when they learn all this, subconsciously, they will also be learning how to fact-check misinformation. And that will be a plus for us, because for us, we want to see a world where factual information is used by people and they use it in real time to make informed decisions at the end of the day.
Thank you very much for coming. I hope you make it to my beloved Chigezi soon when you talk about local dialect.
Yeah, of course, dialect. I'll be coming to Chigezi and talk about the fact checks in Ruchiga so that people may really understand.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Happy to have you at Solutions in Africa, and we shall have more of these conversations. So.
Most definitely.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're still on Solutions in Africa, and we're talking to these amazing innovators.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we would like to welcome you to the MCI Media Hub. This is the second edition of the Innovation Fireplace, powered by Conrad Adenua Stiftung. I will now hand over to the CEO, MCI, Mr. Abbas Impindi, to address the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello. Good evening. Can I invite everyone to have a seat here? Please come to the fire. Come to the fire, everyone. I know now is networking time and really you're trying to get that business card, but there will be a time for that. We have a cocktail. That's the best time to exchange business cards. So please join us here on the E-Fire. Come. We need to get the panel started. Please join in. All this is prepared for you, yeah? Where do you want me? It's camera people. Okay. Please. This whole space is for all of you, so I don't see why you want to sit behind. Right? Join in. It's good for the camera as well, yeah? At the end of the day, we care about showbiz. At the end of the day, we care about aesthetics and how things are going to look, so we want to have this whole space filled up. Raymond, please. Front seat material, please. You are invited. This is my house. Please. Come here. Guys, join in. Okay. Good evening. Can I have your attention, please? Thank you. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming to our, I would say, second edition of the Innovation Fireplace. Last week we were here and we were honored to host a couple of MPs from Germany. But I think one of the biggest highlight for me was the number of startups that are doing amazing things that were in the room. And having this space for the first time to bring us together, one conversation that came out of it was like, we would love to have this quite often to bring ourselves together. Whether there is Konrad at the Neue Stiftung or not, we should be able to meet and discuss whether there is a fire or not. What I can assure you that there will always be space here. So I would love that for those who are in the startup space, business space, innovation space, take use or make use of facilities like this. And we have an open door here to welcome ideas on how we can congregate and discuss different solutions to our challenges. So today is another special day, but one of the things that I didn't share last time, which is I think very important, is our relationship with CAS, Uganda and South Sudan, which should also be able to inspire some, maybe a startup that is here and beginning, to think about like the consistency and staying in the game. So in 2016, prior to that, from 2012 to 2016, my team and I had been volunteers working on building MCI. And we had been at that level where we said, we are done really. There's no one that believes in this idea. We recorded a video and sent to CAS. And the video was basically saying, hi, my name is Abbas and I'm the CEO of Media Challenge Initiative. With my team here, we are organizing an inter-university media challenge and would like you to come on board and support us. This is what's going to happen. And then we broke it down. CAS, I kid you not, we sent 99 videos to each and like organizations, companies. And we probably got a couple of people saying, wow, nice strategy, we love it. CAS, under the leadership of Matthias Kamp then, and Ojok and Ben and Rona, they saw that video and invited us, and we pitched, and we got our first I think it was life for us, because that, I remember, was 6,000 euros. It lifted us from hopelessness to a level of someone believes in our idea. I'm sharing that story because people might come in here and say, wow, you guys made it, but they don't know the journey within which and how far this relationship has come. And that's how we started. With that 6,000, we were able to organize young journalists and train them and attract other people who believed in the idea. So today we have this innovation space that even allows more young people to not see that past, right? To not go through the same hustle of, of doing videos and sending to 99 companies, but to have a space, to have internet, to have a mentor, to have colleagues and a community that they can brainstorm with. So thank you so much, Anna, and the CAST team for not only believing in MCI, but believing in the idea of building the next generation of journalists. And that's what drives us on a daily to come here. So the conversation today, I really hope that we get some ideas, solutions, and just maybe network with each other. For those who are visiting here for the first time, I hope you find a story. If you're visiting from Germany, my key point will be find a story that you can take home. And if you sit down with a friend at the bar or your family at dinner, you can share with them that story, because it will be that story that changes how maybe your relative or other people think about Uganda. It may also determine future investment for these young startups that are here. With those few remarks, thereafter, allow me to invite Anna Reisman, who is going to be our moderator for today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Abbas. Thank you very much. Allow me to sit, please, since we are sitting around the fireplace. And let us allow ourselves to feel very comfortable around this fire. Thank you, Abbas. Thank you, MCI, for hosting us for the second week in a row. We have promised that this will become a series. Maybe not every week, but on a regular basis. We were amazed by the feedback that we got last week. Startups still keep calling us, and you know, we also heard that even within the ecosystem, some startups were here for the very first time to interact with the others, to really engage. So it seems that even within the ecosystem, people still tend to work in silos. And the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, for the matter of fact, that's where we see our role, to bring people together, to bring the private sector together with the political decision makers, to bring together, you know, young and old, to bring together conservative and progressive thoughts. So to really push for a dialogue, because we think that without dialogue we cannot really use and benefit from all the potential that is there. And of course, being a German political foundation, one of our objectives is also to bring together German stakeholders and Ugandan stakeholders, or those from South Sudan, because we are also in charge of South Sudan. So we are very happy to host today members of the delegation of the Free State of Saxony from Germany. Thank you very much for joining us today for this conversation. And of course, the question would also be, why is it that you are interested in coming to Uganda? Why is it that you are interested in engaging with startups? And from the Ugandan perspective, we will try to share with you how we see Uganda. Let me share with you at least how I, who have been here for almost 2 years now, see Uganda. Yes, we can critically evaluate certain developments in the country, also the political situation. But I think those of us who miss out to see all the spaces that are there for dialogue, all the spaces that are there for innovation, for this vibrant generation to shape their future, we will miss out a lot in this country. And believe me, the spaces are there, and it's super important to shape them. So Konrad Adenauer Stiftung has the mission, and it reads, Shaping Democracy Together. And our strong belief is that, first of all, we cannot shape democracy with all the different sectors of the society. And secondly, we also believe that democracy starts with our own engagement, because it takes every single one of us to engage, or in the political sphere, in the social sphere, or in the economic. And for many people, let us be honest, the political matters are not that much of the interest. What matters is that they can bring bread and butter to their tables. And young people, young innovators, try to do this in a different way. So we are very much interested to hear from you, your stories. Thank you, Abbas, for sharing your story. I think it really also makes us proud to have reacted at the right time, you know, to the young voices out there. And of course, being here today and seeing what is set up here, right, and how far MCI has come, it does make us also as Konrad Adenauer Stiftung proud. So thank you very much for coming, everyone. Let's just sit by the fire and enjoy the conversation. It's a chat, meaning we have invited a few guests who will give us their first impressions and inputs, but then everyone is more than welcome to join in. And the first guest whom I would like to address is Christoph Neuberg. He is the Deputy Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry in the state of Saxony. Christoph, may I also, not without pride again, say that you are a former scholar, also of the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. So also these networks count a lot. Christoph, why is it that you have come all the way to Uganda? And what is your particular interest and the interest of your delegation to engage with the startup ecosystem in Uganda?
So let me first say thank you for having us here. It's already by now, it's almost half time now of the trip. It's been just a fantastic time that we had, and we've met so many interesting people and new ideas, and it's really enlightening what we have seen so far. And this is even kind of topping everything I expected. I really like the setup. I like to see the young people here. I already started chatting with some entrepreneurs, startuppers. It was really, really impressive to hear, to see the spirit. And it's basically the same that you can find in Germany in spaces, as we also have like in really growing and flourishing startup culture and the subsystem, I would say. But we will talk about that maybe later. Why we are here? We are here, I mean, I'm personally representing a chamber, the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as you already mentioned. That is a chamber that has 240,000 member companies in the Free State of Saxony. So 240,000 companies, that's a lot, but that's not only like, industrial companies, but it's also like trading and service companies, all sorts of companies. And we, as a delegation from Saxony, we are kind of fact-finding. We have been screening Africa. We've been, as a chamber, we've doing now like for 7-8 years, lots of events and little fairs, conferences on Africa and African countries, African markets. And we've been screening Africa a lot, and then it came up with Uganda as being like maybe the most perspective for Saxony to start a relationship with. I mean, not just, some kind of average one-stop thing, but maybe a larger and more, let's say, in-depth partnership. And so we sat together with the government and discussed this issue and came up with the idea to come here. So the whole trip was postponed twice by Corona, as so many other things, other important things. But now we're here, and I'm here for fact-finding. So my companies, the member companies, sent me to with a clear message to go around with open eyes and talk to many people, as many people that I can, and find out what's the potential and what are the ideas, what is actually driving people in Uganda. You have a thriving economy by now. I mean, so many new ideas. We read a lot of things coming up. Eastern Africa is a very interesting place. And so that's basically my mission now, to find places like this one that I can interact, that I can find interesting people, young people. And of course, in Saxony, this week we have our own startup convention. So I was invited there, but I cannot be there because I am now here. But believe me, I will be talking a lot, I will be reporting a lot, and tell about you, and that could be also one of the pillars of our future cooperation, to have like two startup cultures getting together, being brought together, and looking for new synergies, and so that's basically what I'm up to here, and very much looking forward.
Thank you, Christoph. Thank you very much. Well, here in Uganda, we are quite fast to use the opportunity, so I guess it's an invitation to join next time in Saxony for the innovators here to come to Saxony. We will definitely support SCAS.
I already posted pictures on LinkedIn, and so I got already results. I mean, people replying to me and saying, "Wow, this is so cool! Looks, the whole idea about the fireplace is so cool." I mean, I like it really, and I think many others would like to sit here in my place now.
Great, good to hear it from you. Thank you very much for the compliment. Jean, may I give the word to you? And please, I would also like the panelists today to introduce themselves, so that Christoph and our guest from Germany can also have a better understanding of who the panelists and the participants here around the fire are.
May I just
Yes.
add one thing? I mean, some of you may be disappointed that there's only like 3 of us. It's me, and there's 2 entrepreneurs to my left and to my right. There was another one over there. The group was supposed to be much larger, but we had to split up because we were invited to the president all of a sudden, so we had to go. But they are on their way back now, and they want to join us. So I just got a message saying we will be there in a few minutes.
Oh, cool. That's a good news. Jean, the ecosystem in Uganda, the ecosystem of young entrepreneurs, startups, how does it look like? Could you share with us your experience, your knowledge, and dive us in? I think when I switch off my micro, yours will.
About innovation, you can hear me? Yes. Ah, great.
We can.
Oh, is that better? Thank you, Anna. So I'm yet to have my coffee, and it is coming to 6. So just a disclaimer that my brain is feeling a little bit burnt, but really always excited to share what the landscape of Ugandan ecosystem. And I like that we're really at the fireplace, which means we're not claiming to be experts, but really sharing what it is from our perspective. And I think all of us in the room have a lot to bring to the conversation. So my name is Jean Maki. I am the director of Design Hub Kampala, which is a rustic warehouse somewhere. It's an incubator hub. But I'm also the vice chairperson of Startup Uganda. And what Startup Uganda is an association that is convening the different players in the startup space. I think Anna mentioned, a little reflection on the fragmentation within the ecosystem. So 2019, there were so many players and we're all doing it in our little corners. So I'm in my warehouse and Outbox is somewhere and MSY is somewhere. And it was really important that we become intentional about convening each other so we have a united front. And we gave birth to Startup Uganda to be able to collect that. And it's been an interesting journey to see how that dynamic shifts. And I'm really excited to hear conversations that are not just talking about right now, but building those sustainable links and what it looks like in the future. So in 2020, we did a survey, and these are some of the numbers that look like. So we have about 93% of startups in the urban areas. And it was really interesting to see a shift in terms of gender dynamics. So 30% of those are female-owned, which I think is a good representation in this room, to see some females and what that looks like. But again, to see that the startup ecosystem contributes 50% of the GDP of this country shows you the power of having nothing and how much the startup ecosystem is using mostly nothing to build something and contribute greatly to its economy. 50% of the startups are really in the fintech space and health, and that means there's a lot of field to be claimed, and just walking into this room shows the diversity of what we're doing in renewable energy, in e-commerce, in media spaces. And yeah, so really what that journey looks like is showing all the vast opportunities. I'm really excited that there's Otis here to speak into the finance gap. But I think what the ecosystem has been able to build on the hands of really private sector, and we're really excited that we have people in the civic space now, and CASDAT has been an intentional partner on building more of the enabling environment in regards to policy. But I think the TAF is quite a beautiful place to build, and Uganda remains to have a lot of virgin areas to grow. How do we expand the 93% concentrated here? Also because the infrastructure makes sense here, internet connectivity, the market, what would that look like scaling up? And I think, a lot of the conversation now has been around scaling up. What does that look like? And that to me is a very positive outlook. That means we're talking about growth, we're looking about untapped opportunities, and really keen to see what this conversation brings to the table. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jean. Thanks a lot. Well, I wasn't even aware how much of the GDP the startups contribute to the overall economy. That's amazing.
So big clapping for yourselves.
Yeah, indeed. Please, in this house, I know they clap a lot for themselves. So please. Thank you very much. I would now like to jump to Richard, who represents here the government of Uganda. Here you are. I was looking for you. So, Richard, BPO and Innovation Council. What is it about? And I mean, BPO outsourcing, what are you sourcing out and to whom? What does it stand for, first of all? And now when it comes to the importance of the ecosystem, and we have heard about it, what is your contribution to it? Because BPO and Innovation Council are under the Ministry for ICT and National Guidance. So how is it that the ministry gets into the space? Why the interest? And not only how do you envisage to work together with the ecosystem, but also with, for example, foreign actors and stakeholders who come to Uganda and want to engage. Richard, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. You saw me laughing a bit because I've largely been a private sector person, so I recently joined this space, and when you say represent government, I'm not so sure. But I'll try my best. Yeah, the BPO and Innovation Council is a new initiative, and as you've rightfully put it, it was initiated by the government. And for some reason, it was decided to be placed under the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. I think also because the ministry is taking on a bigger role towards kind of planning for the nation and looking into new ways of creating opportunities for the country and so forth. So the reason I was brought onto the council as a member is that I had a bit of industry experience in the past. So just for your information, I started selling internet services. Actually, it was email services when we had to connect to the internet with 3 different gadgets that needed power. That was a desktop phone, a very big modem, which was usually a big thing of its own, and a very big desktop. And they had to be interconnected in a very interesting way, and then you'd get access to email. And access to email back in the day was such an amazing thing that it was like magic. So that's when I got into this space. I did a bit of open source promotion and a company called Linux Solutions together with a colleague of mine. Thereafter, we did a bit of website promotion and a company called Metrocomia that we started together with Danish people. And then I went on to work for the International Trade Center, promoting trade in this kind of things for about 7 years. That is, International Trade Center is a joint agency of the UN and the World Trade Organization. And so now I'm back. I'm an entrepreneur. I am into export development and of course in the council now. My vice chairperson asked me to come and represent her here. And so back to your question, I think the idea is that we have so many unemployed youth in this country. And of course, youthful people who have been well educated and have potential to contribute to doing a lot of different things. Being idle is a problem in itself. And so we thought that if we come together and at a national level, try to look at how business process outsourcing and innovation can help us create jobs. And not just jobs, but sustainable jobs for the youth, then maybe we will be able to reduce this unemployment gap that, I mean, this high unemployment numbers that we have in the country currently. So in the council, we've come up with some strategies. We've come up with ideas to collaborate. And some of them include, for instance, working with organizations like Startup Uganda and other associations to see how incubation happens for innovators and how we can have a standard, common standard that we can all use to grow innovation. And also encourage entities, government and private sector, that can outsource work to these innovators to outsource. And the encouragement can be through, of course, building our capacity, but also marketing to those organizations and the government, showing them that there's local innovation and so forth. And also showing the rest of the world that these many educated youth can actually deliver services to them. So we actually partner with organizations in Romania. Cluj IT in Romania is a partner of Uganda. We have partners in Belgium. That is still work in progress. I'm looking forward to talking to Germany and seeing how we can partner, mostly on issues to do with knowledge exchange, skills exchange, seeing how we can also jointly access new markets. Maybe markets in Europe, maybe markets in Africa, and maybe markets in other parts of the world. So these kind of synergies working together to support each other. So these really broadly some of the issues. Also policy to protect innovators, policy to see what incentives we can bargain for so that the environment for an innovator is improved. Because if you start a company here and immediately you're slapped with large taxes, large requirements, and then it's like a barrier for you to get into the space. So we are looking at all this. It's work in progress. We have talked to the Uganda business process outsourcing. Oh, you asked about about BPO. BPO is really, originally BPO is really a management term. It's really a term to say business process outsourcing. And what we mean is that you may have a business that requires several processes. And some processes may not be those that you have expertise in, and may not even be core to your product. So you may outsource them to someone else to implement for you. So it became such a big word now that we use it sometimes very loosely and losing the meaning. But it's really about getting some business processes and outsourcing to a third party. It can be inshore, meaning that within the country, MTN outsourcing someone to do contact center services, that is outsourcing. Government of Uganda outsourcing a startup, maybe to provide public information about COVID-19, that's outsourcing. Skilled labor being taken to work somewhere, that's outsourcing. It's a lot. Then we can have near sourcing within the region, maybe the East African countries, maybe Africa, and offshore, which is to Europe and beyond. So we can share a lot more and more on these topics. And I want to tell you that as people in the private sector, and myself who has mostly had my experience in private sector, I think it's time for us to not pay so much attention to politics, but focus on where we can get wins. If the BPO Council is interested in talking to you, what can they do to fast track whatever you're doing? Talk to them. Don't take sides. I mean, we can change colors when it comes to the voting season, but let's not engage in constant politics. It's not taking us anywhere. So let the politicians do their thing. They can engage continuously. But many of us, Uganda, we waste a lot of time following politics and politicians. I think we can do work with any government in power. While I was working in Kenya, we coined a term, and it was AGIP. AGIP means any government in power. It does not mean that you ignore the negatives that the government is doing. You comment on them, you push them to do good, but don't politic too much. Just try and look out for the opportunities and push that agenda. Keep your eye on the ball, basically, that's what I'm saying. Those negatives will come to pass. They will continuously reduce because development is a long-term, very difficult process. So I might have talked too much without answering everything. I don't know what I have not.
That's what you do when you're seated around the fireplace, so Richard. You talk.
And maybe I'll respond to them.
Thank you very much, Richard. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Let me maybe just make a short comment. You see our banner in the background, and we have different banners, and that one says Cars for Innovation. So we also have, for example, one that says Cars for Democracy and that says Cars for Security. So these are kind of our three pillars also of our work. Cars for Innovation is not only the pillar of our work here in Uganda. It's really worldwide, as much as Cars for Democracy and Cars for Security is. So let me share with you where actually our engagement as a political foundation also comes from. I mean, Abbas shared his story. So the story of the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung and our cooperation with startups actually starts in Germany itself, because at a certain point of time you realized as a political foundation being affiliated to the Christian Democratic Union, back then a party in the government, that our political decision makers, they were very much connected with the economic sector, but mostly with the small and medium enterprises run, for example, by families, or with the industries. And we realized there was no such space and, for startups. So as CAS in Germany, we started to engage the political decision makers whom we have access to on the topic of the opportunities for startups and how important innovations are for our country, and how we cannot miss out on engaging with them and setting up the right political framework for for the startups to thrive. Because at a certain point, any company, and be it so small, comes and engages with the political sphere, be it taxes, right, be it investments. So, and this is how it started. We tried to bring these different groups together and say, dear politicians, be mindful to not miss out on the innovations. Look into the startup ecosystem. And so we have also started working together with, it's called Verband der deutschen Startups. It's basically a startup Germany. And they have been developing also policies in-house, and they were reaching out to the politicians. They were using also us as CAS to have access and to also help them to develop their policies. They can also share their stories of failures and successes. So we are now, I hear from Germany, there is this policy paper now by our Minister of Economy, 28 pages long. It speaks a lot to how to support innovators in Germany. It also speaks to the connections between the innovators in Germany and abroad and bringing them together. So we will definitely also look into it. And the good thing that our partner in Germany, basically Startup Germany, they have actually welcomed this paper. And Christian Lindfeld, who is our contact there, he participated last year already in the Kampala Innovation Week. So we are strengthening the network, and we very much hope that a lot of good will come out of it. Thank you, Richard, for your contribution. Laura, now I'm coming to you. Yes.
You remember I said I'm not so sure whether I should represent government. And also I spent a lot of my work here as in private sector. So it's a bit of a touchy area, and just a disclaimer. There are some media people here, maybe they will explain that part of politics that I'm normally not very keen to be part of. But the part that you're discussing, where there's an interface between the political sphere and the economy, and these are very relevant discussions to have. Compliance-related issues, very relevant. Environment for trade, extremely relevant. So all these topics you're touching, I think these are very relevant discussions to take forward. And I think and believe our council has actually been set up to listen to these kind of discussions so that we can also fully understand how to create that environment that is required for startups to thrive. Because sometimes we don't fully understand. Innovation is very dynamic, and knowledge is, emerging every year. So that kind of sharing, especially when you explain it from that angle of yours, it's extremely useful and extremely encouraged. Later on, as we continue the discussion, I think other people will share what I refer to as unproductive engagements.
Great, thank you very much. Well, Richard, you have a partner in us as Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, and I'm sure that many people here in the room are also open for discussions and for exchange, and also, and I consider this being very important for putting together all the brains, the expertise, and the experience to really create a political framework that works, you know, for the startups. Because if the share is so big, right, you really need to think about it. Laura, now allow me to come to you. Business Scout. What is it? And I mean, you are a business scout. You also connect. Let us know whom you connect, with whom. You're German, if I may mention it.
Yes.
And you are placed at a German organization here, but you're very much involved also into the spaces here. So what is your role? And what is it that you are doing on the daily?
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation also. My name is Laura Küpke. I'm a coordinator of a business and cooperation desk from the Business Scouts for Development program, today without my scout scarf. The Scouts, what do? We are a program implemented by GIZ, the German Development Corporation, and we try to bridge the gap between development cooperation and the private sector. And for, I guess, many of you, you know that those two speak different languages. And it's really hard to bring them together, and it's really hard sometimes, you know, to understand each other. And that's what we try to solve in a way. We were launched in 2020, and maybe before I get a bit deeper into the Business Scouts, I'm super happy to be here, because actually before I joined GIZ, I was running a startup myself in Germany. So I know, I think maybe the startups that are representing here, they really deserve an applause for being here. I know it's a long day for you. You have day-to-day business. You sit here. You have to explain the same story again and again. I've done that, trust me. I know it's hard, but you're doing an amazing job. I'm really impressed also from last week. Thank you for the invitation there. It's amazing. And at the same time, I'm so happy to see partners from my new real life, to see DIHK is here, to see AHK is here, yeah, and to see just how we sit together and can discuss what we can do with the ecosystem, how we can support it. So what we do in our role as Business Scouts is also we really try to link the German private sector and the Ugandan private sector in the ways that development cooperation allows us. So we try to be really also the bridge between the programs that are here. For those who might not know, GIZ has two major engagements here. One is rural development and the other one is renewable energies. And I guess for every one of you, you know, both of these topics involve private sector engagement a lot. And so we really try to, you know, speak to our colleagues and find solutions how we can engage the private sector in what we're doing, and at the same time speak to the private sector and try to find out where are the problems, where are the solutions. I like to talk more about solutions than problems, and how can we sit together. So in a nutshell, we are really also trying to network. Having those events like this is really, I think, what we should look for in the future, to bring people together. You also know that sometimes over a glass of juice, beer, or whatever, sitting to the next person to you, a great business opportunity could come up. So we really need to look on how we can network and how we can work together. And I wanted to use the opportunity also to make a little sneak preview. I'm not sure, but I think the delegates were already offered this. that was one of the first products we created as Business Scouts, and Startup Africa, who sits right over there, will help us organize an event to launch this. It's the Investment Guide, which is a publication series by the Make IT Africa initiative together with us, the Business Scouts, in different African countries. And we published the one on Uganda, and with a little bit of a delay, I must admit, we now are finally able to launch it. Not to explain to you what's in here, I'm sure you are all capable to read and you can take it home and read it, but really to use the event and take a step forward, bring startups together, invite investors, invite corporate, and really like continue the exchange that's happening at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Laura. Well, Laura mentioned the glass of wine. I will share with you here that Laura and I, we meet always over a cup of coffee.
Yes.
And then we talk a lot also about the development policies and so on. And, you know, immediately it made a click between Laura and me, because we both said, oh, this traditional way of seeing development policy, of coming across with this helper syndrome. This is not what we want to achieve in this country. This is not how we see Uganda. And so our objective is always also to make our guests feel, of course, welcome and comfortable here, but also to make you leave with a certain prism that we have also here, seeing just the potential, the vibrant ideas that are in the room, because this is how we see Uganda, and this is how we want, you know, our guests to leave and then to be encouraged. So last week, let me just mention this. We had here a group of 7 MPs, and they have been traveling to Uganda and to Kenya. They were representing different committees in the German Bundestag. They came with a diverse group, not only the Committee on Economic Cooperation and Development, but also Transport and Digital Agenda, Health, Defense, Foreign Affairs. And the head of the delegation just yesterday posted, you know, like a sum up of their visit, and this is exactly what he shared with, you know, with his followers. Coming back from Uganda, we need as Germans to get away from this helper syndrome. We need to, you know, to invest and to see the economic opportunities. For us, I would say the objective was achieved. And so we will continue doing this again and again and again, because it takes a lot of patience also and engagement to change also the perspective on Africa, and we try to contribute a lot to it. And I will later on ask also Abbas, how can media startups and the media sector contribute to it? But before I come to you, Silva, could you kindly share with us, now here in the room, we have innovators, we have, even if just maybe partly a representative from the government and private sector in one, but we have also German guests. Could you share with us what is the legal system? How does it look like when it comes, for example, to engagement and to investments into the Ugandan startup ecosystem? Let me maybe frame my question a bit. Recently, we as CAS brought a delegation of Ugandan politicians to Brussels and to Germany. And they were also engaging with different interlocutors from the political space, but also with representatives of the private sector. And, you know, the Ugandans keep telling Germans, you know, we have
a lot of opportunities in our country. Please come, because if you don't invest, the Chinese are already here. So they might take away, you know, the opportunities. Why isn't it that you have the strategy to invest here? And we often hear from the German side, well, you know, our politics and our economy, they do not work the way they would do in China, meaning the government cannot tell a private company just to go to invest and to engage in abroad. At the same time, we see that we are losing these opportunities. And why the German companies do not come is because most of them are small and medium enterprises, family run, and they look into the risks for their business. And they do the calculation. And you know, they decide, oh, maybe there is another country closer to me geographically where I might understand the mentality a bit better, and it's not that risky to go there and to invest there. So what would be your take on it?
Yeah. Thank you, Anne. It's a pleasure to be here. True, I'm a lawyer, so I came along with my colleague Kenneth Alegesi, who's a CFA, so he mostly manages our Otis Africa capital side as a chief investment officer, looking through numbers and other multi-investment strategies. I think the question you ask is very important, and I saw this because I was part of the CAS delegation that visited Saxony, I think in 2020, and so I could hear this through the mirror stand, everyone asking. I could draw parallels because also about probably 40% of the companies we met were real SMEs. The only definition what changes in a German SME is that these are usually 100 employees or 50, whereas maybe a Ugandan employee maybe 5, close at 50. And also the turnover, I think 50 million euro is considered an SME in Germany, whereas in Uganda that could be a budget for one ministry or one department. So those were fundamental sort of differences that I could see. But amidst all that, you're right, Anne, that traditionally Germany has not been a very traditional investor in Africa from a private sector perspective. When I was in South Africa, we would usually joke that between Cairo and Central African Republic, you do not see a German company there. Which is true. Maybe the only thing probably people would come close would be a Mercedes-Benz, which is probably owned by a head of state or a warlord within the area who has similar interests there. And that is powerful to me. It speaks to a particular brand, but also I'm not lost of the sight that innovation or investment is not just individuals. Part of the innovation we see and the investment on our side is from corporate innovation. And definitely when we were in Dresden, we visited the Volkswagen Center there, very amazing facility. And to me, right there, I could see some of those connections starting to make sense. So if a German company, for instance, wanted to open up shop in Africa, or in East Africa, or in Uganda, because the way they see the market is they will not just come to Uganda. They want something bigger than that. I mean, if Volkswagen is just to come to Uganda, how many off-takers would we have in such kind of environment? So it's better to bulk up maybe East Africa and say it's better to access from Nairobi, because Uganda is considered as a secondary market here. So, but the investment tools will remain the same. It will either be a company or a trust. Family-owned businesses do a lot of partnerships, joint venture agreements, if mostly they're searching for raw materials, for instance. And that's where I think we need to position better. When I was in Germany, the biggest discussion at the time was around chips and around access to facilities for electronic vehicles and e-mobility. I nearly fell off one of the lines. I was trying to ride an e-bike there, but But the thing is there. So if Uganda, you have this close maybe proximity to DRC, which has coltan reserves or that kind of stuff, and we've just launched an operation there with digging up roads and things like that. How will the conversation look like, say, if you're approaching Mercedes-Benz or Volkswagen to say we can help with some of this offshoring process that you're calling about? So, and that's why maybe at Otis, we decided to do business differently. Traditionally, advisors, either legal or financial advisors like Kenneth, we'd wait for clients to walk through the door on us so that we do. So now what we did is we created a deal book because we saw one of the biggest challenges we had was having startups that are investment ready, that know what it means to talk to an investor, knows what a term sheet is. So they come to us, we do the preparatory work. Kenneth here has a deal book of about 50 startups that you can look at if you're interested in opportunity, all the way from agriculture to fintech to clean energy to wherever. So you aggregate that because the person coming to invest in your economy does not know where to start from, because we are largely an informal sector economy. So once that informality is not just in the shops or in the dukas or wherever that we have, it also permeates through the information that's out there. So if we have this source, then you know that you've done. We've done some preliminary due diligence, and the beauty with it now is that with business streamlining, you're talking of Dr. Christian from the German Startup Foundation. He's ex-KPMG, I think. He used to work with KPMG. Kenneth here used to work with Deloitte. So you'll find, like, in terms of business process outsourcing, already the templates exist of what it means to guide an investor and hold them through the hand and show them the investment opportunity. In Germany, I work a lot with a law firm there called Bard & Bard. It's all over, but I really like it. They match my speed and pace, and we are able to do very great deals down here. So from that perspective, that's what I'd say. And maybe the last bit that I could add, we also saw that investors do not want to talk to multiple advisors at one point. Because when they come with specific needs. It's usually they'll talk to a lawyer, then seek a tax opinion because they want to know how your tax system works, if there are any double tax treaties that they can benefit from. But also they want to HR advice if they're taking staff in your country. They don't want one firm handling employment, another one doing tax, another one doing investments. So that's why we decided to bring all the resources under one roof. Like have this one single engine that's able to service someone end to end so that whatever they want is within that. And it's really worked. And I think using that model, which really is KPMG, Deloitte or whatever, only that we've domesticated it to Uganda, and Ugandan advisors doing it themselves for Ugandan companies, but also for people seeking to invest here. And so from a risk management perspective, Kenneth decided, no, it's not enough for us to just be advising others. Let's also get a portion of our own money and put it in, because usually foreigners are afraid to invest where locals have no stake. So we say if a person is coming, we'll share the participation risk if we've identified a good opportunity. It's fine, they can bring the 70%, the 80%, but we'll also match and bring the 20% for them, so that even if it's a one-off investment they're doing, they'll be doing a fly-in, fly-out model. They fly in to do the investment, periodically checking on, but we are their eyes and ears on ground, trying to make sure, because as someone might tell you, just 1 week away from your Ugandan startup might be enough to kill it. So in terms of the on-ground support, we make sure we have also our own investment in it, so that we become direct shareholders. We are not just making off management fees and all this kind of thing, but we are also in the queue for a dividend. And so that has worked a bit. Of course, traditionally, Germans will invest differently than, say, French or the British. The British are much more familiar with the ecosystem because our laws are sort of aligned and copied off them. But also they have particular structures they use. You'll find, like under English law, they might have a security trustee, so that if they give you debt or equity and they take security in the company, they'll appoint someone here as a security agent to manage the kind of security they've taken, if it's real estate or if it's any other traditional asset. The Germans usually are more practical and want to be hands-on and want how things are doing. Traditionally, maybe that's why they are more attracted to hardware sectors that involve manufacturing or maybe some production tools and things like that. The British, the French, traditionally really were more interested in West Africa because that's been their play zone for long. But they like infrastructure so much, they created a legal system that works for them. The OHADA, I think OHADA come all the way, and the only similarity they'll share with the Germans is they are all civil law countries that came out of the Napoleonic Code. Whereas for us, we are more Commonwealth and more attuned to British business. So it's on and on that we can discuss, but the comfort is that Germany now is also quite a very young population. When you're in Berlin, you see trobes. It's very multicultural. You see lots of French people, you see English people, you see everyone. So English speaking is becoming a very big norm, and I liked that because traditionally there was a lot of language barrier around communication. But with younger generations, we were able to sit and agree. But also we found a lot of US investments in Germany, and also a bigger control seeking to minimize Chinese influence and investments in Germany, like keep off certain key sectors of the economy. So what that meant is that with US investments in Germany, it makes it easier for us as well, because you know that if you're talking to a US investor, they'll either come with a convertible note or a simple agreement for future equity and things. Y Combinator kind of documentation. So that's what we also use for the startup ecosystem in Uganda. So I think I'll stop there, and then if there are any specific concerns, Kenneth, I think, will take them over.
Thank you very much, Silva. Thanks a lot. An applause for Silva as well. You have mentioned a few things that I would like to catch up on. One is thinking Uganda bigger, is thinking EAC. The DRC has just joined, also the East African community. Again, coming back to a conversation that Laura and I had another day, we said, wow, so there is an interest in going into African countries, but somehow all these projects end up being somewhere, but not in Uganda. Why not? And I think we need to think Uganda not as landlocked, but land-linked. And to divert projects and business opportunities through Uganda being pretty much geographically centered in the region, and then from there, you can also expand into other countries. And just to give you an example of my colleague who was here last week from the DRC, he was running around here and engaging with all the innovators, and he was like, okay, Anna, I hope one day I can bring them to the DRC as well and have these conversations and have their businesses on the ground. So yeah, and this is coming up. This is the ideas, are coming up, and people look out for this geographical connection. And then the other issue that you have mentioned is investment, right? How the interest to invest. And the interest to invest does depend a lot, of course, on the background where you come from, the legal background, but also the perception, right, that people have of certain countries. And the perception can be based in factual terms, but also very much in what your feeling about a country is, or your impression or your picture of a country. What will you find there when you go there? Sometimes you've never been to a place, but you have this, you know, this picture of a certain place. And that brings me to Abbas. Abbas, you are an expert in framing and creating pictures. Why is it important for you to work on positive pictures?
First of all, I had warned Silva not to come here with his hard English, but I guess he didn't listen. Thank you, Silva, for for really giving that summary. I want to start by saying stories are powerful, narratives are more powerful, and the frames within those narratives are even more powerful. So when we talk about perception, we're talking about years and years of you know, how a place has been portrayed in the eyes of others. If, in this case, the media, Western or African or Ugandan, keeps portraying spaces or people as, you know, not investment ready, for lack of a better word, it will definitely deter others from coming to invest. So when I was in a conversation with a South African friend of mine who also runs a startup, the idea is the number of stories or the media coverage that you get as a startup really determines your lifespan and success. Donors and investors are attracted at stories like, oh, you're applying for a certain grant, and the question is, do you have any stories? Can you share some links about your work? And most of the, you know, small organizations, they don't have any documentation done, right? So your story is not out there. But if you look at what stories are there about Uganda, if you Googled Uganda, whether it's you know, local or Ugandan media or international media, it creates a certain perception. So for what we're actually dealing with is hundreds and hundreds of years of framing that, you know, you're charitable, you're not investment ready, and you're aid ready. So last time I mentioned here that it's not just the Western media, but even ourselves. The way we talk about our countries, be it on your social media, be it even in the proposals that we write, right? You showcase the worst case scenario. I always edit proposals, and I like this thing called asset framing. So asset framing is the idea of showing people in hope and urgency and inspiration and the power that they have, even when they are their worst, right? Because that doesn't define them. When you write a proposal that shows that your space is not, the market is not ready for investment, no one will come there. They will just say, we'll give you maybe $40,000 or $10,000 for, or six, or six, no. So that you can, you know, you can uplift the community. But I think what we need to do is to, I'm glad Silva has a deal book, so it sounded like a mafia language, but I don't know. But it's really important that such documentation can be accessible for people to see what's the, like, the structure of businesses that are ready for investment. But for people who are in the media like Raymond and others, also to see how we can showcase so that when you try to find Ugandan startups or businesses, you see where you can invest. In our case here, we've started a platform called Solutions Now Africa, and our focus is going to be on documenting responses that work. We believe that we've done enough complaining about how we have been covered, and now we need to do the work. The guys like Raymond and Solomon Seranja can do the investigative job and continue to catch the bad guys. But equally, we need to showcase the things that are working, you know, not profiling organizations, but what is exactly are they doing at Otis to solve a certain issue that people are facing. So we need to document models, and that's what Solutions Now Africa is targeting to do. My hope and the hope of the team is that we'll be able to reach out to the different organizations and give that media attention that they deserve. But I'm not like a very technical guy. I do things with passion, so I love stories. Showcasing different stories to the guests that come in, to when we visit other countries, when people ask us about Uganda, finding those stories that people will remember and why they should visit your country is very important. So some of us travel and the whole thing that we're doing is just telling everyone that they should never visit, or even for just a day. Talk about our nightlife, you know, and how beautiful it is. Talk about the weather and how beautiful it is. Talk about the businesses, even if they are struggling a bit, right? Because there is hope. Talk about the market potential. So it's very important, Anna, that people see, because the perceptions we have of each other. So if you see me as inferior, it will definitely determine if you can do business with me or not. But like Silva said, if you come and find that there's already 30% investment and you're bringing 70%, that changes the dynamic of like something that has been already done. So even CAS to give us 6,000, we had done a lot of work to prove that we were investment ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let me add the technical details since Abbas is not into this. So this Solutions Now Africa team is also composed by the alumni who were part of the MCI fellowship. And this is a journalistic fellowship where young journalists learn their skills. And this is also a project that is supported by Deutsche Welle Academy and the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. So when they came up with this idea, we said, okay, let us also support this innovation of theirs. But what they really need is to bring now these stories to other places. And what we also, as CAS do, we advertise for our partners a lot. So now it's time for me to advertise, for example, if Saxony is looking for partnerships here with Uganda, the people will need good stories that they want to see. So invest in their stories and they will place them on your platforms, and your investors will be happy to see the stories and to come to Uganda. You can see later on the examples of their work and what they have been doing. I would like now to open up this fireplace to other guests here and, well, to raise your questions, to make your comments, to contribute in any way that you would like to. Please
the fireplace is open. I was asked here by this gentleman all the time. He wanted to contribute something. So I'll give the microphone first to you. Please kindly introduce yourself and say a few words, and then I have seen already your hand.
Will do. So my name is Frank. So I want to say two things. The first is addressed to you. So now our honor guests, they wait downstairs. So they will come in a few minutes. I was asked to pick them. So I will do that. So, but only after giving you a very short introduction to what I want to say to you. My name is Frank, and I work as consultant to innovation hubs, especially cooperating with universities in Africa. So this has to do with Pan-African University. Unfortunately, Pan-African University is not in Uganda, but for instance in Kenya, but as well as in Nigeria. So what I missed a bit so far, so this is really the player, this is universities and research institutes, because I also have to do with a lot of innovation challenges, which are kind of competitions, idea competitions. So, and what I have found out is that very often, so these what is called innovations are kind of a little bit copied from somewhere. So, and by somehow picking ideas from universities, this will also help those who are behind the idea to develop a more unique approach, unique idea. And that's why I really want to encourage you also to make use of cooperation with universities, but also to use your own knowledge, what you have gained or gathered in universities or other institutes, because sometimes it looks to me it somehow evaporates. So, and so the idea then comes from somewhere else, but maybe you're not the expertise in it, which is indeed a problem, because then you need to engage someone else to support you. So just as an idea. So, and now I really want to pick the guests.
Thank you very much. Actually, maybe Jean would like to speak to it. I don't know whether somebody from a university, from the academia is here, but I know for sure, and maybe we wait with this comment because you need to share it when you come back, because the academia does play a role in the ecosystem. You had one question and then I pass the mic.
Hello everyone. My name is Naika Julius. I'm happy to be here and everyone in the room. I lead the team at Famnera. Famnera is Uganda's biggest and most trusted digital food export marketplace. We actually command, since 2016, we've been able to serve over 150,000 farmers, 100 businesses, agribusinesses, and created over 5,000 direct jobs across the agriculture value chain in Uganda. And however, I have an opportunity to share with the youth in the room, especially that are innovating around food and agriculture. And this is about the Africa Ayute Challenge, the Ayute Africa Challenge, Uganda edition 2022. And Famnera is one of the sponsors. Among other sponsors, MasterCard Foundation, Heifer International, Equity Bank, and NTV. So we have 100 million Uganda shillings for you that are to be won by five best innovators. So that's the opportunity for the fellow agri-tech innovators. And within this, Famnera is looking out for 20 best innovative agripreneurs who are innovating around producing food to support them with traceability and export marketing. So To the investors in the room, Famnera again is actually currently raising up to 1.5 million US dollars. And what we want to do now is to be able to scale within Uganda and also other 4 big agricultural markets. That's South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, and Egypt. And so we're looking forward to engaging with you. We may not have enough time here, but we can be able to engage and show you the numbers, and I can guarantee you, you'll have the best agri-tech company to be able to invest in and make a good payback at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Please allow me to now welcome the rest of the delegation here. Thank you for joining us. Together with us this evening, and just arrived is the Chief of the Saxony, of the Chancellery of Saxony and Minister of State of Saxony. Welcome, Mr. Schenk. It's great to have you with us. Please kindly, I would pass the microphone to you to kindly also quickly introduce not every participant of your delegation, but the sectors that you are traveling with, so the groups of people whom you are traveling with. And we have heard already from the business side in Saxony why their interest in having this engagement with the startups. What is the interest of other participants of your delegation and your own interest? Thanks.
First of all, I would like to thank you for this audience you organized, and thank you for this welcome. And I have to apologize for being a little bit late. We had a tough schedule today and several meetings, and we are just coming from Entebbe. And but you did it right. You started the program, and you already started the discussions. Maybe you have heard that we are here with a delegation from Germany. It's about 20 people. We are coming from the Free State of Saxony. Saxony is one of the 16 states in Germany which form Federal Republic of Germany. Saxony is part of former East Germany, and we had a dynamic development in the last 30 years after German reunification. Today, Saxony is famous for car manufacturing. We are proud to host companies like BMW, Porsche, Volkswagen, and but also in the field of digitalization. We are I think we can say that we are the most important basis for microelectronic in Europe. We were producing microchips by companies like Global Foundries, Infineon, Bosch, and in all these fields of related to car digitalization, we wouldn't be so good if we don't have the innovation power of small, medium enterprise companies, but also from the universities. We have 2 big universities, and they bring a lot of startups with it. And they bring dynamic in the industry, dynamic in business life, but also dynamic in social developments. It's not only startups for business. We see startups also in the health sector, but also in questions of social welfare. And now we are also interested to bring these experiences to make more contacts outside of Saxony, not only in Europe or in Asia, also in Africa. That was one of the reasons coming here. And we looked carefully on the landscape and discovered that we have already many relationships, many partnerships with your country. It's, of course, we have a lot of NGOs who have projects here. But in our delegations, also colleagues from the agricultural sector. And some of you maybe have already introduced their companies. And we have colleagues from the journalist section, and but also medicines and scientists in our delegation. And we are very interested to make contacts here, to listen to you, what are your plans, what your visions, where you take care on. And therefore, I would like to thank you to the Konrad Adenauer Foundation that you organized this meeting, that you brought all these people here together. I'm really impressed how many here in this place, and makes a very vivid and dynamic impression to me. And I'm looking forward to an interesting evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Indeed, we have already started the conversation. We talked a little bit about us, as foundation, but also, for example, the business scouts here placed at the GIZ to bridge the different sectors and bring together Uganda and Germany. We talked about the legal frameworks, and I know that you are also Minister for Media. So we talked also about the importance of pictures that are created to impress and to also send messages of, the country is being investment ready, for example, which Uganda is. And we talked about the different spaces that are here that are open for engagement and people who are interested in collaboration and cooperation. So thank you very much for choosing also the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, playing the role of bringing people together around this fireplace. And we've just started a round of comments and questions, and I would like to continue because there is a lot of interest, I've seen it, to engage also with the delegation. So please, the first question would be there. Anybody else? Because I would like to pick a few, and then, okay, perfect. I'll start with you. If somebody could help me out, please, with the microphone to get it over there, I'd appreciate it. I think it's working, just.
Okay. Hello? Oh, okay. Hi guys, my name is Geoffrey. I run a startup called ChargeCo Technologies. We provide portable power banks built into a swapping network to enable smartphone manufacturers access low-income consumers. And on the other side, we're also building electric bicycles to enable e-commerce companies reach last-mile customers. My question is to the investors, and like you said, like the Otters team basically laid out, it's Germany has a lot of strength in hardware, and they're very hands-on, right? But German companies basically build for, or most of their technology is built for high-income customers or developed markets. So if you look at, for example, the Mercedes-Benz, most of them are really owned by, well, presidents and the other guys. But speaking of, collaboration, the German ecosystem is mature and there's a lot of competition. And as you all know, Africa is the next frontier. How do we, one, fund scaling and I would say downsizing the component costs and enabling those expensive technologies basically come down to the, I would say, low-income consumer in Africa, because there's, the cool tech in Germany that even though you sold to, all the Germans, none of them is going to, none of them is a growing segment at the moment in terms of the youth. As you can see, population decline in the Western countries is, a big challenge, and the biggest consumer market is Africa and Asia. So my question would be, how do we de-risk and bring down the cost of the products? And how does investment and partnership with larger manufacturers and OEMs come in to basically, I would say, create access to a lot of these key technologies?
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. So it's a question on making technology accessible for the masses. Here, thank you very much. The lady next, I'll give you mine.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Diana Nigesa Mabonga. I'm CEO for SF Design House. SF Design House is an interior design firm. It serves it serves the commercial market. So we do have a lot of clients in hotel industry, hospitality, and the real estate market. And we also do have the product end of service, where we are resellers. We do not believe in re-engineering things that have already been done. We've been there, and we know that as a country, we still have struggles around manufacturing, and I know some of my colleagues who are in manufacturing will kill me about this, but I know this because I support a lot of commercial projects, and the challenges about manufacturing are so huge in terms of capital, in terms of skilled manpower, in terms of, just the challenges. We can go on and on and on. Mine is not a question, but it's a vote of confidence to Christophe. He's here to, try to find and fact check for the 240,000 members you have in your Chamber of Commerce. We believe at SF Design House, we believe in global partnerships. We believe in the SDG 17 that talks about global partnerships for sustainable development. And I think that's where my mind comes from, around manufacturing. And I believe we can manufacture, but I believe in comparative advantage. Let's, strategize and concretize on things that we are great at and not do things that we're not great at, and so that we can then manufacture products that are able to serve on a global perspective. So that's why we're here. We're here to engage and find out, people in your team that we could partner with in terms of representing them in the market here, to make sure that, as well, we provide a good product for people back home. And also, our vision is to make a change in the landscape in real estate and construction. If there are any people in real estate and construction here, they will understand that the major challenge we have in real estate and construction here is most of the investors are not from Uganda because of capitalization issues. So meaning, if you may understand, design is about contextualizing where the person comes from. If you design and you're not from Uganda, you will have challenges in functionality. So we have most of the investors not being Ugandan and not involving stakeholders that are Ugandan, that understand our cultural problems. Ugandans are very abundant people. I don't know if you've had food here. You'll understand that we do not have only one food placed on a plate. We'll have like 3 carbohydrates and I don't know how many things. So we are abundant in our nature. We are not very limited in our spaces. I've had clients who have had failed projects in service apartments in very high, good locations in this country, because again, we've not been involved in the stakeholder engagement and we are brought in later. So I just want to give that as a point of caution for anybody in the investment in real estate and construction. There is a lot that can be done in this country. There is a lot, there's a huge opportunity. I do not believe in us selling ourselves short and saying, we are looking for investors to do this. We are also a market for German. So we are partners. There is something that we can give the Germans in terms of raw materials. There is things in terms of even just our minds around what is in Africa, so that we can build the right real estate and the right, that serves the people here. Because, right now, I don't think there is a Ugandan my age, I'm 29, there is a Ugandan my age that can buy any property in terms of real estate here.
Thank you very much.
Because it's just insane. The price is so high, but those are all design problems.
Yeah,
because, they are design problems. I'm so sorry. Should I rush? Okay. Anyway, I have a lot to say, but I'm here to engage. Very nice to meet you, Christophe. I've also seen a profile of another person called Castaigne, who is in construction. I'll be glad to engage.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Well, I can really underline what you've been saying. I wish the house in which I live and which here in Uganda was constructed, I think, by an Italian architect. I wish he would have really engaged Ugandans from the very first moment, because the problems I have in the house with water are just immense, because the Italian architect came to Uganda and the project was fine and it looks, the house is beautiful from the outside. But what has not been encountered is, the rain, that comes in Uganda, not on a regular basis and every day and a bit, but you have like dry periods and then a lot of rain comes in. So believe me, I'm reconstructing the ceiling in my living room like after every big period of rain. So you're very right. You need to engage the stakeholders here on the ground right from the beginning to avoid mistakes, to minimize the risks on both sides. Please, Nicholas, you had a question.
Thank you, Anna, for leading the interesting discussion before. My name is Nicholas Opolot. I work with the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, and my interest is in, one, unlocking the potential of the creative economy in Africa, and also deploying innovation as a tool for leapfrogging the challenges that we have as a continent. So my question is very specific, and it's related to pandemic recovery of startups. And I'll ask our delegation that's here to share some of the best practices so far that, let's say, for instance, the German ecosystem has deployed to make sure that the startups in the economy survive and live beyond the 2-year window that we've been faced with. So I will just give you a bit of context in Uganda. We're already a cash-strapped market. So the startup innovators that you see here are champions that need to be lauded for running businesses under very challenging circumstances. Thank you. So my interest would be in hearing some of the incentives, let's say, around financing, packaging, financing that works for businesses, but also setting up an ecosystem or environment that's conducive for startups. So I would be very keen on hearing your experiences around this in Germany. Thank you.
Anyone else? Would you like? Yeah. Exactly.
As regards the ecosystem, I mean, first of all, Germany has, I'd say it's like maybe 5 to 8 years ago, we really started to incorporate the whole idea about startups in our overall understanding of how economy works, how economy must be run, especially a developed economy must find new incentives, new impulses for innovation, because it's really difficult in a developed economy actually to keep things running. People get, to a certain extent, people get lazy because everything is set up already. So you live such a safe life, many people just lose their hunger for innovation and activity, you see. So your question is quite right. What kind of ecosystem do we have? I mean, it's a whole system that is very much, let's say, developed by universities, as my colleague to my left, Frank, already mentioned. Universities play a big role in this because many startup companies just set off from university, from campuses. So there's virtually, I mean, in the tech field, there's virtually no new companies really coming from something else than our universities. And on the other hand, there's the government. That is reflecting a weakness in the German system, already mentioned. So the Anglo-Saxon culture is far more experienced in the investment field. The colleague that is now missing, there he is now in the second row though. He mentioned it actually. I mean, we are an economy very much focused on commodities and industrial appliances, equipments. We are not so much in consumer goods. Actually, Germany, apart from a few exceptions, just stopped producing consumer goods by and large because it's not really the field that we are in. Others are just better, and most of this stuff comes from China now. It may still have a German design, but it's actually produced in countries that have far lower production costs than we have in Germany. And that actually is the answer to Jeffrey over there. Jeffrey was your name, right? Okay. So so we just stopped that and we focus. We focus. I mean, there's one consumer good that is still produced in Germany, and that's cars, very much. But that may be the only consumer good that is really produced in Germany, and the others are really like industrial equipments and machine building tools, you know, all this sort of things. And still, there is now increasingly coming up also an urge, and we have to really invest. And also like the already mentioned Mittelstand, you know, the medium-sized businesses, family businesses, some of them run like in the 6th or 7th generation already. They now understand there is an urge, if they want to be competitive in a global scale still, they have to take in innovation. And that's actually now underway. But there's also always the difficulty that German companies go around and look for ideas and new startups, but they want to buy them. They want to incorporate them. And that is still something, an issue we have to kind of work on, because the idea of many of you guys is not to give up entirely and just hand over your business, but you want to stay in. And so this is now also, I think it's on the way. And I see, and I know many companies from Saxony that are actually very willing to engage in cooperations with young, innovative startups, not only in Germany, but also abroad and even outside from Europe. Last question, one of the guys, he's gone, oh no, he's there. I found your comment very, very inspiring and rightful. We all live with our images, you know, and while you were talking, I just checked a couple of, you know, countries, you know, I Googled them and looked for the images Google would produce, and of course you see Uganda and you would see like, you know, game, you would see like wildlife, you would see some sort of you know, natives running around with spears and shields, and that's basically the image, you know. But I can tell you, obviously there was no image portraying Uganda like really like a high-tech marketplace or anything like that. But then I Googled Germany and it was the same. So that is not necessarily a disadvantage. But of course, there should be also other images. So when I Googled Germany, of course, there were like the Bavarians drinking beer. You know, when you Google, that's the average, you know, yeah, image that we still produce, and it's just surprising. Whereas when you Google China, you would find immediately lots of pictures portraying a port, which is very, very modern, and you would see like modern skylines of Shanghai, Shenzhen, and all other. See, it's interesting. I found that comment very, very inspiring. But I can assure you, when we come back as a group, we will make sure that Uganda and the way we talk about Uganda and the way we talk to report on our on our journey here, will actually convey very innovative, inspiring, and modern pictures. That's for sure. And there's much ground to it, much solid foundation. Thank you.
Let me just add 2 points. First, I would add an example to the prejudices and the pictures we have in our mind. It reminds me of my first time I was in America, and I drove by a Greyhound bus through America, and I was very often asked for German Oktoberfest, for German beer, and German Autobahn. So that was a picture of Germany 30 years ago. I would like to come back to your question to the German ecosystem. Just 3 points. What are we doing in the Free State of Saxony? For example, if there is a young woman or young man coming from high school or university and he wants to set up his own startup, his own company, we pay him a subsidy, a subsidy of 1,000 euro per month, so that he can get something to food, he can rent his flat, and he can develop his idea and can bring it to the market. We pay it for 12 months. The second, we encourage our banks, especially our state-owned banks, to participate in good ideas, so that the companies have capital, they can develop their ideas, can look for partners, can bring it to the market. And the third point, we try to match young companies, startups, with established companies, bring them together so that the established companies see what ideas, could they use from the startups, and for the startups to be part of a bigger company where they can develop and can bring it to market, especially to a bigger market, also to an international market. So I think these are three very important points which have shown success in the last years. And I think that could be the way also to setting up cooperations between Saxony, Germany, and Uganda.
Sounds very good. Maybe also the particular aspect of, did the state stepped in to also support the startups after the COVID break and them not being able to run their businesses?
This was really a big problem, and Germany is a quite rich country, and we gave a lot of money to our economy, and we also gave money to startups so that they could keep their ideas, they could running their business also during this pandemic times. And I think it worked quite good. Not everyone survived, also not from the big ones. And but in general, I think there was no special problem to startups in the pandemic in Germany.
Thank you very much. Richard, I hope you've been taking notes what the state can do. Jean, I would like to pass the microphone to you so that you could maybe address the question of how the startup ecosystem is also collaborating with universities here in Uganda and where you see potential. I can only add that we've embarked on a project. We don't know whether it will be successful or not, but those startups that contributed to the idea and helped to develop the idea were also based, for example, at one of the universities here in Uganda. But John. I will start to jump.
I think, Frank, this is to give you a lot of comfort. So we have 28 hubs. 45% of those is academia. With me today, I have students from the African Leadership Institute. And that's because we really acknowledge the role of academia in participating actively in the innovation space. So I hope that gives you a little bit of comfort, and I think there's more and more brewing. You have a startup right there that with Makerere, with the Innovation Center, and not just in the urban areas, but academia has been our way of spreading outside Kampala, so Busitama or in the north. It has been a really great entry point in tapping into how to expand the innovation space. So there's a lot of comfort there. But I really wanted to speak a little bit about what Abbas said. And just from a personal example of how much these images impact us every day. So as an incubation owner, a lot of my conversations with visiting missions is, again, a very helper mindset. I had a mission come in, and they were really keen to change Uganda and how Uganda is working. And the fund that they were advocating for, it was 80% a team from the West, with the 20% for the Ugandan context. And I really rubbish that idea, because unfortunately that needs to change. So for success to ever happen and to really realize how that affects investment in the country, if it trickles down with that mentality, and we get to interface with that a lot of the time. So I'm really excited that we start to create sessions like this where you can, see that there's innovation happening in the tech space, in the media space, and appreciate that it's a two-way street. So what does, soft learnings look like for Germany and Uganda? And that is also going to inform how we form strategic partnerships and to really empower the local context, because that's where, scalability is. And that's where, we know the context, we know what works, and we're able to have a roundtable conversation that takes away those dynamics. And I think, media plays a great part in that. And I'm excited to see how that translates, even with this small portion of the people, to be brand ambassadors of what our ecosystem is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, these spaces also serve to get to know new people, which is the case for me with Lydia, but I would just hand over the mic to Lydia so that she can introduce herself, because she is also an interesting person in the circle, bridging
the state of Saxony and Uganda.
Thank you, Anna. My name is Lydia Nakayenze Schubert. I am originally from Uganda, but since 2006 I've lived in the lovely town of Leipzig. And I've gone through a lot of what is being talked about here. I got my MBA in the University of Leipzig, and then began to work on my idea, which brought me back home, because I realized that my first degree was in development studies, but then I saw there was really not much future staying in that space, because like the countries who are funding our development budgets are really working very hard to pay those taxes, which are then given to us to use. So I'm like, why can't we start to become those people in our own countries? But it was a very complex journey, building a startup in Uganda and Germany, because you go to an investor like, what? You want to take my money to Africa? I don't think so. But the good thing about Germany is there's a lot of federal funding and also state funding for startups. And we managed to get a few grants along the way that really helped us to shape our idea. And also having that support from the university, like startup support scene with different coaches and mentors. So we're able to build what we're doing. But also to speak to what the state of Saxony has done for us, I think before I came here in 2015, we got a grant to do research on medicinal plants in Uganda to solve problems in Germany. And then they helped us to get follow-up funding and matched us to an industry partner who will bring the product to market. So actually why I ended up coming back to Uganda was like, we really need to work on sustainability and securing supply in the future, because like the challenge we have in Africa is we have all these promising things, but you know, someone will supply you for 1 year and then they're like, it's finished. And I was like, we can't do business that way. So I came back, and then also here trying to link back into the Ugandan system, because one of the things that I've done a lot is I was at Makerere, so I tried to link people from Makerere to wherever I was working, because I worked with a research institution. So we managed to get in, because sometimes it takes long for the big programs to come. But I was like, if we can get someone to come for their PhD, maybe for a research visit, it's a starting point, so we start to get to know one another and show what is available. And we've so far gotten about 5 PhDs out of that kind of small personal connections. And then also, then to start to build the business and then see how can this work. But one of the things about Germany, especially East Germany, is sometimes language is quite a barrier. Don't be fooled by all these people who are speaking English. Most of them speak German. But if you learn that language, it opens doors. And that's what helped me to bring the equipment and bring people who would install the equipment for me, because in the factory where I work in Otuke, we work in 3 languages, actually 4 languages. We work in German, we work in English, we work in Langi, we work in Logisu, because that's how the team is set up. So, but we encourage you to say, we are already coming in from Saxony to Uganda to invest, because this business that I do is fully privately owned and funded by my husband and I. And it's been an interesting journey, just that we began during COVID, which gave us some very hard challenges to face, but I think we have mastered them well. And to that I would say what helps me is having the experience of both in Germany and now in Uganda, and to speak to the importance of having diasporan linkages as we do these projects here, because there is quite a sizable Ugandan diasporan community in Germany, most of them in academia or in research fields, but we don't know how to come and do something here. Everybody's like, you're going to have your fingers burnt. Nothing works out. Within 2 years, all your money will be gone and you will have no family left or friends, because things will have disappeared. But being able to show how to make it work, how to build systems. Someone said, if you leave your business in Uganda for 1 week, it will collapse. I can say that is not true. I leave my business up to 2 months at a time, because my family does not live here, and the business is thriving in my absence. So we need to train people how to build systems that are independent of founders as well. Because if you're going to do everything in your business, you are going to really, really burn yourself out. Right now, I lead a team of 20 people full-time, and about 10 other people who support us on a part-time to do the things we do. And we're just trying to see where this can then go, to showcase people like these things do work out. So for me, I was very proud when I learned that it was my state of Saxony which chose Uganda as their partner state. I was like, that's amazing, because now I can say, ich bin eine Sachsin aus Uganda und ich freue mich, dass Sie hier zu Hause sind. Danke.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lydia. I've seen a hand over there.
I'm standing up that everybody can see me. I was establishing my startup company in Germany 30 years ago. And now we have a company of 50 engineers in IT engineering. And we did some projects and business in Africa since more than 20 years. And I'm very happy to be here in Uganda after COVID, now after a gap of 2 years who nearly destroyed our project approach to Africa. What I want to give you as a message, with the experience of successful startup 30 years ago, the ideas what you are creating must create multiple times day by day value for your customers. Then they pay you back. When you create value for your customers, they will pay you. They will be your funders of your company. This is really important. And you have to have the patience to sustain the first 5 years. Don't expect that you are getting rich in short time. Until you get cost coverage for your company, it takes at least 5 years. This is very, very important to understand. And I want to combine it with an invitation. If there is somebody who has business ideas in IT engineering, a bachelor degree from a university in Uganda, I would like to invite you to continue with a master degree in Germany and work with my company to earn your daily livelihood in Germany. And then to stay with my company maybe for 3 or 5 years to get experience in the international market, and then to go back to Uganda and be our partners.
Well, I guess this is an offer you cannot miss out. Before I bring you into the round, I would like to give the microphone to the gentleman next to me. Raymond Majuni, you had a comment.
Thank you so much. I wish I had done an undergraduate in IT. But I guess that I need to speak for many of the SMEs here, because I sense that many of them will not tell you what's at the heart of a problem for them. And I'm the journalist here, so I'll speak the truth so they can stone me much later. The cost of doing business in Uganda and the cost of doing business in Germany are separate entities. In Germany, I just Googled it, in Saxony, people are being paid to borrow money from the bank. You are borrowing, worst case scenario, at 1%. So if you're running a company, your cost of borrowing is just down to 1%. Anyone in Uganda here who runs an SME to borrow $5,000 for 5 years will be 28%. So the cost of return on equity and capital in Uganda is just 9%. If you're borrowing at 28%, you're literally working yourself off for the bank. So if you see an SME here that's still surviving, clap for them, because they are working. Now, the crisis that we have in our ecosystem is really the cost of money. It's not the ideas, because everywhere you look, the fantastic ideas. This place, if you just tour around, you have like 30 different companies working here. So they are great ideas, but those ideas are not able to scale. I mean, Geoffrey there of ChargeCo, I've known him for 7 years, and he has just a brilliant, fantastic idea, clean energy, charging all these gadgets. But he's not able to scale because the cost of capital is just way out of reach. So if we're going to discuss how to help businesses here, how do we bring down the cost of money here? And one of the things you can do for us, which is fantastic, is to demand that your pension funds give you less on your equity, because those pension funds are the ones giving our banks here money. That's something you can take to the German parliament and say, look here, the return on equity on our pension funds is just too high and it's crippling lending rates in Africa. 2, you can establish within yourselves as investors that have come here today an equity fund. Silva is right there. We can walk to his law firm after here. 20 minutes, we will have an equity fund that will lend to people in this room at 1%. That way, there'll be the same business in Saxony. And that way, you will have return on your money and you will have helped a business here succeed. So many of these young entrepreneurs are not telling you this, but that's the heart of the problem. The cost of money here. You'll have a fantastic idea, you'll run it for 5 years, it will fall to the ground simply because the cost of paying back that loan is just too high. And we're a young country, we're just 60 years. We don't have pension funds. There are about only 900,000 of us who have pensions with NSSF. So that means we don't have money to lend to ourselves. When everyone here starts a business, what they do is they be asking for their friends. Can you give me a loan, I'll pay you back. Can you give me this loan, I'll pay you back. That's how people meet their payments at the end of the month. But that's a dangerous way to run business. So I think that the best way to move this conversation forward is here, right now, quick solution, all the investors here, with the money that you have in excess as profit, we walk to Silva's farm, we establish an equity fund, people in here can borrow for up to 5%, so you get 4%, and the businesses here survive. That saves them from going to the bank for 20%. Or we can send you to go to the German parliament and say, look here, the cost of money in Africa is expensive, and that's because we're demanding a high return on our pension. And how do we solve that? But I think that that's the longer route. Yeah.
Thank you, Raymond. Raymond is a journalist, so he tends to talk a lot, but a lot of, that makes sense. Thank you very much, Raymond, for your contribution. Wow, so many hands up. I see the warmth of the fire is really inviting, and everyone wants to speak. Let me look at the clock and say, let us give ourselves another like 20 minutes. Okay, so for all contributions, please be short in your contributions and precise, because we also want to use the opportunity to walk around the room and to engage with the startups. I start with you, and then I will walk around the fire.
Hello. Sorry. My name is Natasha. I run a startup called Wapi. Wapi is a digital talent marketplace that helps startups and companies across the globe to find African talent within less than 7 days. We do this by using millions of data points from our talent pool to help companies and startups find the best talent within a shorter time. I have 2 questions. The first one goes to Mr. Richard from, I think, Innovation Council. You spoke about something to do with high unemployment rates in Africa, and that's absolutely true. That's something we're also trying to tap into. And I can say that there are a number of startups within Uganda that have created amazing products to try and curb the soaring unemployment rates in Africa. With all the collaborations you're doing with the innovation hubs and the rest, what opportunities or programs are available for startups that have such programs to actually help the government to reduce the unemployment rates through using their products to create access opportunities to skilled individuals in Uganda, to those earning opportunities? That's one. And how can the startups tap into them? Then the second question is to CAS and the German delegation. The gentleman here mentioned something about your clients being your first funders, and that's absolutely right. However, one of the other challenges that startups have is access points to European markets and the US market. So how is the German delegation and CAS, or what incentives do you have to help us tap into those markets? And how can startups like Wapi or the others tap into those opportunities to have access points to such markets as we utilize the funding opportunities that you come with? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The moderator without the microphone, I need to raise my voice, but I would like just to pass the microphone now around. Yeah, please.
Guten Abend. Welcome to Uganda. My name is Peter Nyeko. I run a former startup. We're 10 years old now. We started in Uganda. We've had at least 10 interns from Germany in the last 10 years, one of whom came from Saxony and is actually back in Saxony running their own startup. So that's quite exciting to see you all. We are called Mandulis Energy. We build renewable energy solutions, power plants. We're working in Uganda, but we moved from Uganda to also do work in the United Kingdom and in Southern Africa. And my word of encouragement to Ugandan startups is, let's not only look within Uganda, let's think of whatever we can do that could solve a problem in Niedersachsen or in Saxony or in France or wherever else. I manage a team of about 50 people across 5 countries. We started here. We were a startup on the streets, matatus, comuniers, all of that, and butters for quite a while. But when you stay there long enough, like my senior colleague said, after year 5, when you get to year 10, things don't get easier, but you get to understand how to get to the next level. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the words of encouragement. And this is from somebody who has just recently visited the Queen.
Thank you very much, Anne. My name is Stephen Kamwa. I have a startup, RevMake. It's an energy tech startup, and we build power backup systems based on lithium-ion batteries. Thank you very much, Raymond, for that. But the other aspect I want to talk about is particularly manufacturing in Uganda, a manufacturing startup. There's a big challenge of equipment, machine building. If someone wanted to access a water jet in Kampala, I think it's impossible. The chances are almost zero, you know? If you wanted to access an Argus plastic injection machine, it's totally impossible. So it makes it very difficult to have, to be able to manufacture a very good product that can be appreciated on the market. And since we are talking with people from Saxony who have a good background in machine building, I don't know if you could look into being able to avail machinery and technical expertise along those lines. I think that would go a long way in helping most of the startups, especially in manufacturing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please allow me, before I come to you, because, well, I will just misuse my role as moderator, if I may. Lydia has not mentioned actually the company or what kind of startup she is running, and she is very much into manufacturing. And before she explains what she does, I would like to give the microphone to the gentleman in the back who is just coming towards me, because he knows that I will ask now him to share with you a little bit of his story and how Lydia actually contributes to this story, because I think this is an amazing opportunity to see how a startup business and another idea can come together and flourish. Ojok, please.
Thank you very much, Anna, for the opportunity. So my name is Ojok, and I am the founder and CEO of Okere City, which is an ambitious plan to build the first sustainable rural city in Africa. And one of the engines that we are using to build this city is the shea tree. The shea tree produces shea butter. And within the same ecosystem belt that we exist is also Lydia's production facility. So basically, what we have to do is make sure that we work with the rural farmers and collect the shea nuts and make sure that we work with Lydia here to make sure that the shea nuts are turned into shea butter. I think this is a classical demonstration of how partnerships are essential for promoting sustainable development, not only in Africa, but also globally, because through connections in Germany and through a favorable funding landscape, you know, we have a state-of-the-art production facility that enables us to have a very quality product in the marketplace. And through this ecosystem, thousands and thousands of rural farmers are benefiting. In addition to the share butter, of course, we also work with the rural community to make sure that we promote access to quality health care. So we have a health center. We also have a community school, in addition to other social amenities, which we think are quite important because most of the people in Africa are still in rural areas. And particularly for the case of Uganda, up to about 75% of the population are in rural areas. And once critical investments are not made in these areas, then there will be a lot of rural-urban migration. And most of the time, the people who are flocking into urban areas will not be the kind that rural areas actually need because they wouldn't be skilled, they wouldn't be talented. But if these investments are made in the rural areas, it will mean that even when there is rural-urban migration, the people who are coming are actually coming to make sure that the innovation ecosystem in these urban spaces thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajok, very much. So that's also the words of encouragement to think of the entire value chain, not only when it comes to a product that you bring to the market, but to any idea that contributes to the development of the country. And now, let me get the microphone to you.
All right, thank you. I'll sit, I think. My name is Dutch Joshua. I work with Startup Africa. I'm an innovation consultant. I would like to drift a little bit back to Raymond on the point of the interest rate. Not on the exact point, but I think on access on information. I have a personal story, I think 2 years back, pandemic, I think 2019 or 2020. I was looking for information about how to file returns, and I wasn't happy with the results that I found. So I wrote a blog on my personal business blog, and after two years right now, when you search how to file returns in Uganda, I think it comes #1. So I think that was really important for me, not because I'm an expert in search engine, but I think it's valuable information. So that means a lot of people are searching for this information. I think I'm really happy being here and all hearing about all the ideas that are being shared today. But I think there is a small circle of people with information, and we should not underestimate it. We should make information valuable. I'm really happy working now with Laura on the investment gate. I think it's a really important tool in the ecosystem, and we should not, I think, imagine that everyone knows or has access to this kind of information. If I look in the room, I think I just see brilliant people with a lot of information that young entrepreneurs are really looking out for. And when you go to Google to search for this information, it's really not actually applicable in Uganda. These are results from America, from Germany, from elsewhere. And I think as the ecosystem, we also need to invest so much, not telling our stories only in photos, but also in creating valuable content that we can reuse, creating open source that is supporting other people to recreate and to innovate. So I think this is just a boost. It's not a question, but I think we should do that more. Because when we sit here, we live. And mostly only the good minds are here, and some people I feel are being left out. So to the investors, to the development organizations, I think we should do that more, and maybe with Laura, the investment guide, whatever will come after that, after the launch. I'm just really looking forward to that, but I just want to encourage us to create, because we know these things sometimes, but when we come here, we also continue to learn. That means there is a lot more that we didn't know. So I feel like, going back to Raymond, that's something everyone should know. The investors should search even before coming to Uganda, and they have an understanding of how things are working here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Let me just maybe add to this, because we want this fireplace to become, basically an institution.
so that people find here together and speak and exchange ideas. And those who you feel are left out, please, you have your own network. Spread the word. Let them come next time. Everyone is very much welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Esther. I'm a filmmaker as well as a human development specialist. I came through Opolot, Global Shapers, and I'm very glad to be here. I want to speak on the issue of sustainability. I'm sure it's a concern for any investor to, before going into any venture, you look at the sustainability. And with Africa in particular, we do not lack resources in terms of minerals, in terms of any other level of resources. A lot of money has been invested over the years in Africa, but the question would be, why are we still where we are? And for me, that would be because the most important component of any resource, which is the human resource, has not really been catered to. So for example, we're talking about startups and businesses here. Personally, I'm a social entrepreneur. That means I look at businesses that really look at transformation in communities. And right now, I'm consulting with non-profits that looks at mental health. Opolot mentioned, how do we recover from COVID and move forward? You would have to understand that on the backdrop of the fact that while the rest of the world just had a bit of a shaking from COVID, Africa has had it for centuries. From colonization, from post-colonialism, from wars and all these things. So many times you expect the quality of mind that you have as people who have had the opportunity to live in more stable countries to be the same that the African has, and it's never the same. So you'll invest money on small issues like poor management of resources, where someone maybe they cannot separate between their business and family, and they're always maybe taking from the business, or things like even relationship issues, work ethic, how to relate. So my question to the team from Germany is, on top of giving financial aid and all this other training, is there opportunity for sustainable goal number 3, which is health and well-being? Thank you.
Thank you. I guess there are members of the delegation here who could speak to the health. There are so many hands. I will not be able to do justice to every one of you. That I can guarantee already now. But let me try and maybe give first the microphone to one member of the delegation. Maybe he can speak to the health issue or anything else.
Hello, thank you from my side. My name is Martin. I'm coming from Germany from an agricultural consulting company. We are making consulting in Germany as well as abroad. And I have 3 thoughts, or 4 thoughts in my mind. At first, when we have here a fire in the middle, there should be, in Germany, there would be one with a guitar, playing guitar.
You will find them over there in a few minutes.
Perfect. So second, concerning the financing. In Germany, it's very common to make crowd financing. And perhaps, as I'm a consultant, I always can have good ideas, but I do not have to invest my own. I have to talk to people that invest. Perhaps there should be a platform where people, perhaps from Europe or somewhere else, can have a look what ideas you have here in Uganda, and people from Europe perhaps can invest in your ideas with crowdfunding. Perhaps there is a solution like this, or perhaps you should build a solution like this. My second thought is, as we are from Saxony, and as we have here representative of the business chamber, perhaps there should be a partnering program between Ugandan entrepreneurs and German Saxon entrepreneurs. Of course, we come from Saxony, but perhaps 200 kilometers north of Saxony, there's Berlin. And I think Berlin today is a headquarter of European entrepreneurship and startup business. And perhaps we should build up a partner program to connect people, to make exchange and to build it. And third thought also from my side, if there is someone in the agricultural business who has good ideas or who wants to have exchange with Germany, with German farming and so on, just contact me and we can have a talk about this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would just slightly change one word in your contribution, and instead of perhaps, I would say most certainly.
Hello. Yes, it's working. I don't know if I need to stand up. I'll stay seated. My name is Kenneth Legacy. Silva mentioned me earlier. We work together at Otis Africa Capital. But in addition, I am a co-founder of an organization called Kampala Angel Investment Network. I'd like to just build on the point that Raymond made around cheap capital or the German investors in the room bringing money to invest in the country. To say one, those vehicles already exist. Between myself and Silva, we've already created some local vehicles that can take capital. Two, and so you can just come and play if you're interested. But two, I wanted to share a case study because we're already doing some of these things. The last speaker talked about crowdfinancing. It might not be crowdfinancing, but there's already blending that is beginning to happen between local capital and some foreign or external capital. To date, at Otis Africa Capital, we've been able to finance two deals, two companies, one in the vertical micro-gardening space, and they're solving, I guess, SDG 2, zero hunger, among other things, and unemployment. And for this particular company, it was a small ticket. They were looking for about $20,000. And as Otis Africa Capital, we were able to mobilize some local capital that invested alongside Belgian capital. So we did that once. We've done it a second time for a company in the plastics recycling space. But from that experience, what I was able to see, which is testament to what Raymond was saying, the capital, the cost of capital locally is a bit high for whatever reasons I'll not go into today. But because we're able to blend with cheaper capital from outside the country, we're able to bring in financing at a rate that was acceptable for the business. So I'll just urge maybe the delegation of investors in the room, or indeed Ugandans in the room, because we brought the local capital that was from Ugandan investors, that there's opportunity to do these things. It is already happening, so just come and we do more of them. And lastly, maybe related to that, I know on Thursday we'll be hosting a forum under Kampala Angel Investment Network at an angel dinner where we're inviting people who would like to invest in local companies to come and see some of these companies in an informal setting. Because what we've learned over the years is that the formal setting where you stand up and you pitch, it intimidates some entrepreneurs and it's not an easy environment for them to engage. So we're trying to do it informally. But just be encouraged that we're beginning to get some local capital coming through, but maybe it will give confidence to foreign capital or external capital to come and partner alongside so that we are developing and funding our innovators very sufficiently as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have 8 more minutes until we conclude. And let me take 1, 2, 3, 4 hands, and that's it.
Thank you. My name is Tracy, and I belong to a startup. I am part of the group that started NALO, and that's Native Law Uganda. So my question, actually it's not a question, it is a submission. So there is an innovations ecosystem, but I'm going to tell you one thing that I've learned from the media challenge, and that is the power in collaborations. So as a team or as members of the ecosystem, we tend to be more competitive rather than collaborative. There is power in collaborations. I'll tell you this, we are doing law, and we're breaking down the law for the ordinary person. And the Constitution is too wide and too big and too, complicated. What we're trying to do is break that down for the ordinary citizen. How are we doing that? We're doing media content. So imagine lawyers meeting journalists to help the local person. Now, there are other ways we could partner. You may not necessarily have the money, but perhaps you're in this room and you subscribe to technology. How do we develop an app that can actually help Nalo do its work? You know? So I am putting this forward. As you walk around this room, just find a way you could partner with a startup. You could be doing gig stuff, technology. How about when we're having these conversations, you find a way, or I find a way, where as a media personality, I could bring your story to the forefront. You understand? So I'll give a round of applause for Media Challenge and Abbas and the team, because in this space you'll find debunk, demystifying some facts, or breaking some myths here and there. You'll find Nalo that's doing law, breaking down the law. You will find Solutions Africa, so different groups. And I urge that, as apart from the money, we have this urge to just look at the money as the only thing that you could bring to the table. But I'm telling you, you are here and you have gig companies, technology. You're here, you have resources that we probably, you have cameras, you are a good producer, a good editor, a good storyteller. Please come and look at how you could partner with a startup so that at least their story is being told, or your story is being told, so that we have a bigger impact. That's all.
Thank you very much. A pledge for more collaboration.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anna, for for this, and thank you, Cass, telling our stories. My name is Susan Mujawa. I work with Open Science Innovations. We do tech for inclusivity. Basically, right now, the venture we are working on is called Science TV Uganda. We basically get information from the mainstream media and change it to sign language. I will have a brain teaser for everyone here. Imagine every information or startup that you're starting is having an inclusive bit of it. Imagine that. Last time when we had this conversation last week, one of my colleagues who is deaf was looking for someone who started Safe Border. She told me, I need to meet this gentleman. I've been using for this app, and it's not inclusive. I have to go somewhere, but the guy calls me, and I can't pick up this call. I have to run somewhere and tell someone, please pick up this call. I need to answer, and I got, and So when she met this gentleman, the guy was like, oh my God, I did not think of this. So just imagine when you're starting up something and include that inclusivity bit of it, whereby someone else and everyone can use your start, your innovation, or your anything that you're starting. So mine is just a brain teaser. Just imagine and have inclusivity at the back of your mind. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I will reach out to you because we need to also learn how to be more inclusive in our space. Thanks for sharing the story. So the third hand? Yeah?
All right. Oh, yes. A very good evening to us all. My name is Brandy Azirwe Valentine, Communication Officer with the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. First and foremost, I'm very pleased to be in this environment where different people in the sector are coming together to discuss what works for the both of us. Everyone, I mean by the both of us. This year, in March, we ran a campaign called Innovation Powerhouse. So we were pitching Uganda as the innovation powerhouse. Like, if you want something innovative, if you want to create from scratch, if you want to build, come to Uganda. So it gives me much pleasure that the Germans are here and we're having this conversation. And within that campaign, we were able to fly 5 innovators to Dubai, right? And Lydia was one of them. Yeah, and she was able to showcase all the shea butter from East Africa in Dubai to the whole world in the expo. But I had a conversation. I had him talk about the ability to innovate in a space like this. And we have so many demand drivers as a country. But what can we do to do better? I feel like the fact that we're even collaborating between the private sector and the public sector gives us joy. And the fact that we are ready to step in our glory as the innovation powerhouse also gives us joy. And I feel like despite the things that look shaky here and there, we are moving in the right direction and with the right collaboration and pushing together as a nation, as innovators. We are better together as a whole. So thank you very much. And the Germans are invited to work with us. These are very amazing innovators from time to time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brandy. So
Is it
two more, one, and then you, okay?
Thank you.
And then we conclude.
Thank you. My name is Ivan Mandela. I work with Shona. We do business development and technical assistance for SMEs. We also provide flexible financing in form of debt instruments. I think if this was happening about 30 years ago, you'd have maybe 99% of the people exhibiting as NGOs or non-profits. But I think today we see more businesses or startups, which means that the development agenda in Uganda, and I would say the whole of Africa, is changing from charity to the private sector. Now, Raymond talked about financing, and we already receive a lot of financing from Germany in form of aid. The challenge is most of that financing is charitable. It is grants focused on charity. And so it's not really supporting the private sector as it is. And it seems that while it is increasingly, to a certain extent, at least from my perspective, becoming easier to raise a grant, in my case, to run a program and run some activities, it is not increasingly becoming easier at the same rate to raise capital, right? To invest in a fund that I'm running, or to invest in an SME and allow Geoffrey of Churchill to invest in building his hardware. He can easily get a grant to educate, some farmers or some people about, renewable energy, but it's very hard for him to attract financing to build that hardware. And yet his success actually depends on it. So I'm wondering, and this is a question to the German or delegation, I'm wondering whether it is actually possible to repurpose the aid and the kind of financing we are getting as a country, such that it's more balanced and that a lot of it actually flows to the private sector, not in form of charity, but in form of investment. And we're actually willing to pay return on it. We are just not willing to pay 20%, which is what we have access to.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Last contribution from your side, and then I would give the word to Mr. Schenk, who would like to give answers to the questions raised.
Thank you so much. My name is Steven Kakoza. I am from KAU. We design these smart cards that help students to access pocket money without need for phones or anything. So what I want to talk about is goes to my fellow entrepreneurs in the room. I think we need to change the narrative, especially from the fundamentals, from the start of the innovations, the solutions that we work on. Let us not lose the Africanity in us, because when you look at, for example, our solution, it might not be scalable to Germany because they allow phones in schools, but I mean, Africa has over 1.2 billion people. And if these can use the solution, and I feel good working on the solution, that can work. I mean, I feel good, I love doing what I do. And then also I think most entrepreneurs have changed from real entrepreneurs to now grantpreneurs. That's why you find that in the room, you're seeing people you saw maybe 10 years ago, and they are not doing something, but they are around because they are good in the connection, they're in the network. So anything that has grant, they can be there. They get their grant, they have a product they show, they go use the grant for something else, instead of growing the business into something that is self-sustaining. And before we say anything about maybe the government, before I come there, and the outside countries on supporting us, if only we can come together as Africans, as ourselves, as entrepreneurs in the room, we can raise money that can push a business to somewhere where it can generate money to push another business. If we keep on crying for help, nobody's going to come to our rescue unless we wake up ourselves and then get something off the ground. My last point goes to the gentleman here, and I'm now glad there are two in the room, is there, and then some other one in charge of the Ministry of IT. Now me, I was just a student in a university, Lira University, far in the north. And then as growing up, I was like seeing this problem existing. I couldn't receive, money from my parents and stuff like that. They used to steal cash from me. I didn't know anything about, legal stuff. And so I'm trying to come up with a solution that can help me do without those devices. And then you're telling me I have to first of all pay 1.5 million just to get a license for me to test what I'm working on. I mean, if I told the government outside there can pay people to innovate, why can't you just create for me an environment where I can do testing for my products and services before you charge me? If I need to get, for example, an account for my company, that's if I initiate the company, I have to first of all get the certificate of incorporation, I have to get the TIN, I have to get quite a lot of stuff. Somebody who is innovating down there in the village, he doesn't know, he's just trying to help himself out of the problem. So if you put all these legal restrictions, which will require me to move from, say, Lira there to come here just to get somebody to help me get this, this is the first barrier to the innovation. This is the first barrier to the ecosystem. You hear these people are giving money, they are actually paying innovators to innovate, but our government wants us to pay it because we innovate. That's really terrible, and it's a killer to the ecosystem.
Thank you very much. I am sure that the representatives of the Ministry of ICT are listening to you very carefully. This lady has used the comparative advantage of sitting next to me, and she said, can I just, yeah, please, just do this, and then I'll just hand over your microphone to Mr. Schenk.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alan Horiet. I am an alumni of MCI Academy. I am a product of MCI Academy, and they have trained me well. I am also currently a transitioning intern at DC Productions Media Group, Seattle, Washington. We deal with a lot of projects from political industries, from businesses, from organizations. I pitch to the bosses in Washington, D.C., in Seattle, Washington, in Los Angeles, in New York, ideas that are coming from Africans. I am passionate to network anyone in any country. It doesn't matter if you're in Germany or French or you're, let me say, Portuguese, whatever you bring it to the table matters. But the only problem that I have with pitching different startup companies or organizations is that when someone delivers your work to the table for presentation, you do not play your part. I can pitch you to the ambassador, Erikana Chomborikwa, because you have a project on Pan-Africanism. But then at the end of the day, you do not deliver what you need to do. So I believe it also starts with you as an individual. You might be saying, okay, the Germans have come here and we need the money, we need this, but what are you doing to maintain what they have given you? How are you motivating them to support you more? You are not networking amongst yourselves. That is the first issue I get here. And another thing is that you do not want to have such spaces like MCI to come together often and discuss these issues and work together. If you work as a community, if you work together, you can become much more productive, not only in Uganda, in Africa, and as a global network as well. Thank you.
I am sure these fireplace discussions will lead to all of it. Let me now give the word to Mr. Schenk to be able to address some of the aspects, because I believe there have been so many.
No worry, I won't make it too long. We are all waiting for the guitar and the get-together. First of all, I would thank the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. I would like to have kind of this meeting also in Germany, in Saxony. That's very impressive. I like the discussion. It was very focused on concrete subjects, and I think that is important. And I would let you know what are my take-home messages and what I think what we can do, what we can take home, and what could help to make more cooperations between Saxony and Uganda available. The first thing is that we have, maybe it's a little bit similar to this room and to this meeting and to the MCI, we call it hubs. That's a place where we bring together startups in Germany, where they get teach, where they meet similar partners, where they can develop their idea with partners together and bring it to the market. It could be one idea that we match you with the hubs we have in Germany, with the hubs we have in Saxony. We have them in Chemnitz, we have them in Leipzig, we have them in Dresden, often very near to the universities, but they are open also for partners from other parts in Germany, but also from partners from abroad. Everyone who has an idea, who wants to innovate, can go there, can rent a place there. They get, often they get helps from the state or from the chamber. And so this could be an idea if they want also to develop their business in international market, so that we bring you together with them. The second is, there was a question for health. We have also these hubs specialized on health questions. To my mind, the health sector is one of the most important for innovation because there's so much hope also in fighting diseases. On the other hand, it's often quite difficult with the regulation system, with the insurance system to get the licenses. Therefore, we train them in a special way, and we bring them together also with the regulatory authorities. And I could imagine that it is also helpful to cooperate in this field. There was the idea of crowdfunding to establish a platform. I think that could also an idea we should discuss together. And especially the idea brought up of a partnering program. I think that underlines the idea of matching you with hubs and an exchange program, partnering program, whatever you call it. I think that is one thing we should try to develop together. And therefore, I would like to thank you once again, Konrad Adenauer Foundation, Anna, for making this meeting possible, to bring all these people together, to give us the opportunity to talk to you, but also the opportunity that you can talk with us. And therefore, I would like hand over to Anna, and I hope you invite us for something more.
Absolutely, because there is not much to add. Thank you very much for your final words of appreciation and your suggestions and solutions, because this is why we come here, for solutions. And thank you very much for choosing us as a partner to bring your delegation together with the networks that we are familiar with. We are happy to facilitate any other form of engagement and collaboration. We are here on this site. So thank you very much again. And I would like to also thank MCI again for hosting us today, for giving this space. I have enjoyed moderating this panel. The time is never enough, but now I would like to invite everyone to listen to the band. It's not only the guitar, but more music instruments are out there, to enjoy the cocktails and some bites, and of course to continue having the conversations. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming.
Media plays a critical role in connecting nations. Media plays a critical role in how we see each other, where we invest money, who we do businesses with.
We'll be very much excited to listen to you and how the journey has been, but also what are some of the challenges, but also opportunities that the ecosystem experiences.
We are here because we want to learn from you. We want to know what are your dreams, what is in front of you, what is the big challenge for you here in Uganda. Here in Uganda as young people, what is the big challenge for the years here in Uganda. And we want to learn it, and we want to get an overview how we can find solutions together, solutions for make your business better, solutions for your challenges here.
As startups begin to attract investment, then they begin to look
Media plays a critical role in connecting nations. Media plays a critical role in how we see each other, where we invest money, who we do businesses with.
I will be very much excited to listen to you and how the journey has been, but also what are some of the challenges, but also opportunities that the ecosystem experiences.
We are here because we want to learn from you. We want to know what are your dreams, what is in front of you, what is the big challenge for you here in Uganda. Here in Uganda as young people, what is the big challenge for the years here in Uganda. And we want to learn it, and we want to get an overview how we can find solutions together, solutions for make your business better, solutions for your challenges here.
as startups begin to attract investment, then they begin to look for higher talent and then begin to hire more people. And that cannot happen. You can't just drive supply without understanding demand. And that's one of the things that CK mentioned to me. He says, Michael, are you able to deliver for me higher end engineers?